Defining Duke is brought to you by Mack Weldon. I want all of you to stop thinking so much about what to wear and just embrace this radically efficient Mack Weldon daily wear system. This past weekend, we had an evening with Last Stand Media. I had the fantastic opportunity to meet a lot of you out there, shake your hands, and learn how far you traveled to meet us. But you know what's important when you're on those long rides, whether you're in the sky or on the road? That's right. Comfort, okay? So your boy was sporting the Ace sweatshorts over from Mack Weldon, which have modern tailoring, and they pair perfectly with their ultra soft, ultra upgraded Pima tees. Buy some this summer with the Mack Weldon daily wear system. For 20% off your order, visit MackWeldon.com/Duke and enter the promo code Duke. That's MackWeldon.com/Duke, promo code Duke for 20% off. Mack Weldon, radically efficient wardrobing.
You know how it's always portrayed that the bride is the one who is really excited about the wedding and the planning of it and everything from the time they were young? Well, I was the groom who was excited, and part of my excitement was about my wedding ring. Well, the good thing is that Manly Bands is here to rescue us from, well, let's face it, a hellish band buying experience. They offer you the freedom to look how you want and just about every type of ring that you can imagine. As a matter of fact, I chose the Protagonist as my ring, but it was really difficult because there were so many different rings that I thought were really cool. To order your Manly Band and get 21% off plus a free silicone ring, go to manlybands.com/Duke. That's manlybands.com/Duke for 21% off. Manly Bands, the best damn rings, period.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Chime. For those unaware, Chime is an award-winning app and debit card which has no overdraft fees, no foreign transaction fees, no monthly service fees, and no transfer fees. All in all, no hidden fees. It's time to say goodbye to hidden fees. Join the millions of Americans already enjoying Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. Get started today at chime.com/Duke. That's chime.com/Duke. Banking services provided by and debit cards issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees apply except at MoneyPass ATM, at a 7-Eleven location, and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Other fees such as third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 36 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by the most jacked man in Last Stand Media, Lord Cognito.
What's going on, Matty, my man, the young beast himself. We met. It was lit. Before we get into anything, man, like, I'd be remiss, bro. Like, what we did this weekend, the event, meeting the team, meeting you, building, having some non-alcoholic sangria over Mexican. You know what I'm saying?
That was like, the funniest shit.
That was hilarious, bro. Like, I was like, yo, y'all ain't got no alcohol. I ain't gonna get no margaritas in.
It was more so, the best part of this, ladies and gentlemen, is we're sitting there getting food, and he asked one, I think a waiter, he was just like, you got sangria? And they're like, no, we don't carry that. And he kind of like turns to the table and he goes about his business, right? And then now our waitress comes up to make our food order, and he's like, y'all got sangria? And he asked again. I'm like, you weren't letting that go. And she's like, yeah, we do. And we were all thinking like, oh, this guy had no fucking idea what he was doing. He comes back with a non-alcoholic one.
Bro.
You said it was pretty good, though.
It was good. It was just, it's funny because I didn't want to take no way for an answer. Like, me getting Mexican with a margarita is tradition. Like, I was just like blown away. But I spoke to Ben. I think what it is like in the state that you got, like, some of them have issues getting their license, their liquor license or whatever. So it's a rarer thing than I thought. So, you know, Alcoholic Cog was a little like, damn, where's my drink at? But it was funny, my determination to try to get.
You tried, man.
Yeah, man. I wanted to shout out the team, everybody, man. Obviously, Colin, Dustin, Chris, Mama Micah, Dagan, the team. Shout out to the fans. Like, it was really a special thing.
Yeah.
And y'all showed so much love to the Dukes, and it was cool, man. What was your thoughts on it, real quick?
Oh my gosh. I mean, for those who don't know, this past weekend was an evening with Last Stand Media. We held an event in Butler, Pennsylvania. We did a panel for the greatest games of all time, which will be available to patrons eventually. And then I don't know when it'll go out to the public, but it's something you're definitely going to want to check out because it was hilarious. We had a really good time up on stage, despite how absolutely nervous we all were. I think everyone but Colin was nervous because Colin had done this before. All of us were like, "Oh, yo, we never hosted." And I'll always remember that feeling of I still get the tingles in my hands thinking about when I stepped out of that backstage door and you saw all those people and like you felt the sound hit you.
Bro,
like I blacked out walking to the stage. I was like, "Oh my God, I don't even know where I am. I hope I don't fall."
Bro, I'm with you because when Ben he's the MC at that point to call us out, it was chills. You go out and then the crowd and they tore the roof down. They were like, oh. So I'm like, yo, this is great. It was a surreal moment. I've never done anything like that before either. So it's funny you said I felt the same way. I'm just like, I'm not gonna fall. I'm gonna get up on the stage. I gotta get to my seat and I'm gonna sit down. But the love, man, the love was tremendous.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everyone who showed up and took photos, allowed us to sign things from PS5 faceplates. Someone let me completely desecrate theirs and like write in like that. Chris and Colin, everyone signed on the top and bottom, and there's this huge gap in the middle. And the kid's like, "This is really bothering me," and he wanted me just to fill this whole thing up in the middle. And I'm like, "Are you sure?" So I completely ruined a PS5 faceplate. We signed a lot of Vitas out there, one of the most rare consoles now. Has our signatures on it. That was really cool. But just what was amazing was some of the questions we got, the conversations we were able to have. We had it set from 12 to 3, and we were there for about 5 hours instead, making sure we had time to talk to every single person who had come through. We wanted to make sure it was worth everyone's time, that no one was rushed on by. So to those who just came on through and showed us real strong love, I mean, a lot of people obviously we're there because of Sacred Symbols being our main product, our most popular product, I think might be the better term. And then a lot of people were still finding out about Duke. And so what was kind of neat was this was a lot of folks' first introduction to us.
Yes.
We got that a lot. Like, I really haven't listened, but I'm going to now. Maybe they felt obliged to say that, we're sitting right there in front of them. But I feel inclined to believe that we made a good impression, and just getting the chance to sit down and talk to us probably makes a big difference. So to those who are new to the show, welcome. But again, just thank you to everyone who showed up with real strong love and support. That was quite unlike anything I've seen before. And the fact that I was able to say twice, my pen's out. And like, I had to get a new marker to sign stuff. Shows how many signatures we were handing out, which was just incredible. So thank you again to everyone who made that weekend one of the most memorable ones of our lifetime. And we're definitely going to be doing more. I just don't know when, but it's definitely something that's in the cards. So
absolutely. Salute.
And with that, let's just do one more thing before we begin. I just want to pass on some feedback from the audience that sometimes the shows go on extremely long, right? Like we're pushing past 3 hours, which I think is fine. I know we have a Patreon and an audience that the longer, the better. I do want to float out this idea, however, not to trim down the fat, but because of the amount of write-ins we get, sometimes we don't have enough to fill in the 5 and 5 that we typically do. For those who don't know, we do 5 warm-up questions. We get into the news, Game Pass pick, yada, yada, yada. And then we end with 5 more patron questions. Now, sometimes we don't get a lot of write-ins. Like this week, we only had 24. So finding 10 ones that are topical, that are, I got to be honest, like worth speaking about, worth diving into, that we haven't talked about to the point of redundancy is very difficult. So this week, we do have the 5-5 set up. I managed to scrounge it all together, but I wanted to check with the audience how they feel about a 3-5 setup, where we start off with 3 warm-up questions, we get into the news a little bit quicker, and then we end with 5. I think that would be a more fair setup and would allow for, I think, more topical write-ins, but it would probably impact the length of the show. So just keep that in mind, because I know that means a lot to folks, but it's something that I'm gravitating towards that I would like to do, but I want to make sure that the audience doesn't feel shortchanged in the process. Good. So feel free to write in with some of your feedback on that.
Give us your feedback.
With that, let's start off with the warm-up questions. Number 1 comes from Ryan Clayton. Does or will Game Pass change how game reviews are perceived or produced? We're in a time where Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance can arrive in a poor state of quality, but since it's free in quotes, who cares? Subscribers are in a no-loss position when the only thing a game costs is storage space and some download time. In this case, does a critic's assessment matter when the consumer is able to see for themselves again at no additional cost? Matty, as a reviewer, and Cog, as a fellow commentator, does Game Pass affect how you perceive a game's quality / worth and how you communicate that to your audience? Do you think it will in the future, perhaps even changing how reviews are conducted across the industry more broadly, or will the current standard hold? And is this an overblown thought? Thanks for the great podcast, guys. So what do you think of Game Pass and its impact on reviews? Just this week we saw, and this has nothing to do with Game Pass, but we're seeing reviews really start to pop out more and more. This week it was Tales of Arise. Mine's out now for those who want to check it out. It's on my channel, Mr. Matty Plays. But beyond that, we had like Psychonauts 2 is probably the most recent day one Game Pass drop where the reviews were overwhelmingly positive. But did that make such a difference when it was already available on Game Pass? So what do you think of some of that?
Yeah, it's a good question. Shout out to Ryan. I think, you and I, Maddie, we've talked about, concerns, a couple of Dukes about, go about, hey, is it okay because it's in Game Pass, free 99,
Yeah.
that, it's acceptable to launch with bugs and glitches. And I want to be fair though. I want to paint the picture that like, this is not the case across the board for all Game Pass games. We were just saying as the service gets more robust and gets, bigger, we want them to be cognizant of things like that. So if the answer Ryan's question, I don't think that should affect the review process, right? Like whoever's reviewing shouldn't say, hey, this is a Game Pass game. So, hey, free 99 or whatever, go check it out. Don't worry about that, kind of thing. We ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I think from the review, in the media community, that's not going to change. What I think me and you were alluding to was more of the Xbox fan, right? And sometimes the willingness to push back if they start to see trends or something in a direction. Obviously, we talked about Outriders, we talked about the Ascent, obviously we had an amazing Defiant Duke Ultimate about, Ascent. And that was one of our concerns because it was really in an unacceptable state at certain times. But I'll give it to you. I just feel that, at the end of the day, I'm never going to change my perception just because it got a Game Pass logo on it. Yes, it's value. It feels good, right? It feels good. Yeah. But I'm judging you the same way I judge any other game. Yeah. So that's me.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't in fact impact anything as a reviewer personally, because the way I view it is there are two luxuries in every review. And I've always had this mindset, which is it's not just money, it's time. And so even if you're downloading a game, your time is still valuable. Your time to download. If your internet's not good, I'm not going to assume you have internet like mine. I do this for a living. So for me, a quick download, a quick hop in is possible. That's not always possible for everyone. And even when you hop in, you're dedicating time after work or whatever to play this game. And I want that time to be spent as best as possible. I will say that when there is Game Pass involved, there's a little more ease in saying try it for yourself, but it doesn't change my personal verdict. So I'll give my opinion on the game as it is. And then from there, just say, well, if it's good or decent, even, hey, give it a try for yourself. And this will sound a smidge privileged, but I don't mean it this way. I have been lucky enough to receive games for free for a long time in my career. So the excitement of like, oh, free 99 has sort of worn down on me, especially because I did borrow Carrick's policy a number of years into my review career, which is just I buy every game that I review now. So at that point, it's just my money's on the line. And especially even if it's in Game Pass, like I'll buy it. It's just something that I do to keep myself in check. And what I typically do is a test. So once I beat a game for review, I go, all right, go to the website, get ready to order it. Do I hesitate when I go to pull the trigger on 60? And if I do, I'm like, what would I feel comfortable with? I'll still buy it for that full price because, like I said, that's part of my policy. But that's how I usually check it. That's all a feel thing. Right. But to me, I don't think I almost said Dark Alliance. I don't think that's Game Pass should change how games are reviewed. Although I think the bigger impact is on, of course, the audience, the consumers, because I just saw it with Halo Infinite. I put out a tweet asking folks just in general, like, how confident are you that both the story and the multiplayer will be good. That was it. And I didn't put like a poll or anything because I was like, I want people to use their words, like why they're confident, why they're not confident. And I saw a couple people going, I don't care. It's on Game Pass. And it's a really bad precedent to set because that's a ripple effect, right? It goes beyond Halo or any game for that matter. Forza, Age of Empire, any third-party day one deal. It's really important that we emphasize that these games have quality. And I know we've said it a lot, but I think it's important to say again, just because I don't want to see shitty games dropping on Game Pass. It's as simple as that. So will it impact reviews in the future? It could, to the extent of like, it's an easier recommendation to try for yourself if you're already in the subscription service. But beyond that, no, because time is still a luxury. But that's how I look at it, at least.
Oh, well said. I mean, I couldn't have said any better than that. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, you're right. You know, we can't, as gamers, you know, mentally lower our standards because we are getting this perceived value, right? The value is great and we praise it. We sing its praises to the high heavens. Definitely, we get it. But that should not change. Hey, I still expect a quality game. Hey, I still expect a premium experience, and we're going to judge you accordingly. So
I also see a degree of devaluing if you're not a part of Game Pass. And it's only one specific example that immediately comes to mind for me, but I could see this spreading more and more as time goes on. I think of Scarlet Nexus. I remember there was a heavy emphasis on this should be a Game Pass game, right? And I get why. It was not marketed much. I don't think it sold very well. It was revealed on Xbox's stage. And with that close marketing, a lot of folks thought they'd eventually say like, hey, Scarlet Nexus day one Game Pass. And so what happens is a lot of folks pocket their money and they go, I'm waiting to see when that Game Pass is coming. It never comes, right? And I think there is a degree of like, well, I like now there's that middleman of like, well, I wouldn't spend my money on this, but I want to play it.
Right.
That's what Game Pass serves as. So I do worry a little bit about that. But at the end of the day, people are controlling where they spend their money, and that's completely reasonable. It's just something I think worth bringing to the table to talk about as well.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 2 goes to Mike Poe. Hello, Dukes. I was listening to the Halo Gut Check last week and I had a thought. Is there any other video game series expected to deliver as much quality content as a mainline Halo game? A Halo game is expected to have excellent gameplay, a great campaign, multiplayer, and robust co-op options, including local split screen. If any of these are either missing or unsatisfactory, the game will be viewed as a subpar Halo game. By the way, he doesn't mention this in his write-up, but Forge as well.
Yes.
Another expectation. No other series I can think of is required to do as many of the things and meet all these expectations. No flagship PlayStation franchise is expected to have co-op or a decent multiplayer. We've all collectively given up hope on Nintendo's online that will be even more than mediocre. Is Halo just being asked to do too much compared to other franchises? And I thought this was a good question because with the price of game development going up, there is a degree of feature creep potentially happening with Halo. As these worlds get bigger, for example, co-op becomes less and less likely because they have to render to, in the case of Halo Infinite, much more open spaces. So there is something worth talking about here, I felt. What do you make of the position Halo's in as a game that started off in 2001 on the original Xbox and how it evolved where now with development costs going up, things seem to be changing on how they roll out these features?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Mike Poe. Look, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Heavy is the head, bro. Look, I feel you. This is an excellent question. And I think this is where sometimes the Halo community gets pushed back. But bro, you set the precedent. Like you created these features, right? And all I can say is that's why, you know, Matty, me and you, we've always been like, yo, give 343 the time they need to get everything right. Because here's the thing, when you set this amazing precedent, I should say Bungie, right? And that's what they've been doing. And that was my only empathy towards 343 from the jump has always been Halo was technically not their baby. They inherited, it's like the new parent, they adopted a child in a marriage. And I get that. But now it's like 5 years or whatever it's been. Like they've literally, someone had a stat and it was like, they've had the Halo series now as long as Bungie has.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Shout out to Lord Addict. He had a video up on his channel, Gaming Addict. Got to shout out the home team. And it was like, you know, which, you know, Halo you like better, 343 is a Bungie. we're at that point now. So we can't keep saying,
Interesting.
yeah, like they've had it, man. They've had it, bro. So the way I look at it is I did some research on, shout out to Corey Barlog from the from God of War, right?
Right.
And got a chance to meet him. Amazing guy, Matty. Like very soft spoken, very humble, very cool.
Right.
Took time out of his day. One of E3s, I got a chance to meet him, and they talk about the expectation of the franchise and all the pressure, and then Sony themselves fighting internally how it should go. No jump button, this, you know. And that's game development. There's a struggle before something comes out, and then it's actually this well-renowned game of the year. Was it 2018 or whatever it was? Mm-hmm. So the way I look at it is like Halo is of that level. Not saying it's apples to apples, but Halo is of that level. Iconic franchises, and when it's iconic, there is expectation. So I don't want us to get into this whole thing. Well, we can't expect any of this from Halo. We can't. Like, bro, I want, as Sony fans say, I want greatness. bring forth the greatness. Yeah, I'll take as much time as you need. But that's what it was. I think this is an excellent question, because on some level, I do feel there is, it's like, oh man, they got all these modes, all these other games ain't doing this. I get that. But like I said, heavy is the head that wears the crown. You said this precedent. So that's what I got. What you got, man?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, but as you think on it more, I think it's almost pitying 343. They've had 6 years with the game, and when you look at that in comparison to how long it is until we get Forge and co-op, we're really not that far away where it's this infeasible thing. I think this game was a product of development hell. It was caught in turbulence for a while. And now we're 3 months away from co-op, and we're about half a year away from Forge. I know it's a hot take. I'm of the mindset, just wait and get them all in at launch. I'm just of that mindset, man, because I just think it eases pressure off that campaign that now is a must succeed. It must be a hit. And the multiplayer must be balanced. The monetization must not be egregious. It can become an avalanche for this game very quickly now. I'm just, once again, of the mindset that you need to have as many tools to win as possible with Halo Infinite. So to me, I don't want to skirt around the question. It's really just, I think they're so close that it's not impossible. Clearly it's not. If we were talking a year out for all of this, it's like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe feature creep got them. But I think the project was in a really bad spot. We had Joe Staten come in, seems to have righted the ship. He's like, we're getting this out at the end of 2021. They're doing what they have to do that. But I don't think it's because of feature creep. I think it's seemingly a poor management. I just think it's that simple. 343 has not shown to me that they are competent enough to handle the Halo franchise yet. They have done an excellent job repairing Master Chief Collection, but it shouldn't have been a repair job. They made Halo 5 fun multiplayer, but I don't need to beat the dead horse of the story. It's in Halo 4, I really don't think it was a bad game. Thought it was a good starting point, in which, I know the multiplayer fell off quickly, but I just look at what they've done with the Halo license, and it's like, I'm tired of people pitying them. These are some of the most competent developers in the industry. The reason I say that is a lot of them, for example, came from Pandemic. I had the honor to interview a lot of those folks. One of them we've seen in a lot of the multiplayer videos for Halo, which is Tom French. He came off of heading one of the projects called The Saboteur, which was a phenomenal open world game that was sort of the swan song for Pandemic. And they're one of the top-notch developers. And so they had Scott Warner on their team. I mean, they had a lot of great devs at 343. So, I'm tired of people just pitying them like, oh, this, that, like they can't figure it out. It's like, no, they are talented. Do not sell them short. It's just they mismanaged it. And so obviously I think Xbox is trying to be kind. Phil's publicly said, like, we don't need to put more pressure on them, but he's lying to himself. He thinks Halo Infinite fumbles the bag here or fumbles the ball, that they're not going to be making some decisions soon.
Exactly.
Whether it be leadership choices or I doubt the IP will move. I think that's a little too substantial, but I think there's going to be a major leadership shakeup if Halo Infinite comes out in a bad spot.
Oh, yeah. Firmly agree.
Yeah. So Beyond that, great question, Mike Poe. Defining Duke is brought to you by Chime. For those unaware, Chime is an award-winning app and debit card which has no overdraft fees, no foreign transaction fees, no monthly service fees, and no transfer fees. All in all, no hidden fees. Why is this important? Well, pull up a chair. It's story time because this is one of the easiest ad reads of all time since I've personally had an encounter with Chime. So when I first met my girlfriend, she was figuring things out financially. And what was happening is when she was transferring money, sometimes she'd get dinged with a fee. And then all of a sudden it would put her into an overdraft. And then she'd get dinged again. Suddenly she's in a big financial hole. And it wasn't until we figured things out together through Chime that all of these random fees suddenly came to a halt. So I cannot recommend it enough. It's time to say goodbye to hidden fees. Join the millions of Americans already enjoying Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and it doesn't affect your credit score. Get started today at chime.com/Duke. That's chime.com/Duke. Banking services provided by and debit cards issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees apply except at MoneyPass ATM, at a 7-Eleven location, and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Other fees such as third-party and cash deposit fees may apply. Let's get into the third question with Sweet Baby Ray. Duke, Matty, and Lord Cog, y'all are ruining all other video game podcasts for me. Seriously, the quality of your content continues its meteoric rise with every episode, and I'm here for it. Thank you both. Thank you, Sweet Baby Ray. Cog's enthusiasm for Destiny 2 has me logging back into the game. You got the shirt on right now. Taking King, baby. I've been playing with old friends, and our bonds of friendship strengthen when we spend time together talking in game. Can you all give an example of a multiplayer game that strengthened your relationship with someone? Hope you both had a good time in Butler this past weekend. The man with the golden gun, Sweet Baby Ray. Thank you, Ray. All right. Cog, maybe your answer is obvious, but maybe it's not. What is a game that really brought you and your friends together?
It's Destiny, bro. I can't, for the people who, I always get teased, though. I got persecuted for loving this game so long. I went through things. like, you're still playing. It's like, bro, besides the fact, in my opinion, is some of the best gun mechanics in gaming. Besides the fact that I think Bungie's artists, as far as weapon design, as far as skyboxes,
I saw the city that you post on your tweet. On
Dream
your
City.
Yeah.
See the flex?
Yeah, I was like,
Bro, it's beautiful. It looks like something out of Lord of the Rings. It's just like, wow, right? And it's
they're very good.
Thing about it is Destiny is one of those games you could play it how you want to play it. You could play hardcore, right? And do your end game stuff, do your raids, do your dungeons. But sometimes, you know what it is, Matty? It's just jumping in a strike or jumping in some Crucible or some Gambit and just shooting the shit with the friends, with the homies. That's just literally what it is. And we end up using it to just catch up on life. Yo, King, what's going on, bro? Okay. And then so many people, they literally just jump on. So it's just to talk and to hang out. And it's just like, hey, who needs help doing this? Okay, cool. And it's just such a communal game. And now with crossplay, I'm connected. I've got my PC clanmates now coming over. We're jumping in, my PlayStation guys, so it's just this. I will say this. I will cap. People can say they don't like that. I say that's fine. But the only thing I will cap, and I will down my sword for this game, it is by far the best community in gaming. As far as what they do, the events, people truly, really love each other. Got a tremendous love. The charitable stuff they do for St. Jude's and the kids. And like I said, I got to shout out the home team. I got to shout out my boy Ebontis, Last Word Podcast. I've met lifelong friends because of this game.
Right.
It's insane. This game literally, people in the joke by the developers like it's the friend game and they got teased, but it is, kind of thing. So that's my bloviation on Destiny. I love it. It's just home. I pick up control. I hear that amazing music. I hear the gunplay. And I'm home. I'm home, brother. It is what it is.
Were you playing it in the hotel when you brought your series? Is that what you were grinding?
Yeah, I played a little bit. I got 12 minutes done for the spoiler cast that's up right now. Shout out to Ben Smith. But I did sneak in a couple of strikes. Thanks to you. Shout out to Matty for helping me bypass hotel TV security.
Yeah. For those who don't know, we stay at this hotel, the Comfort Inn, and they have this like panel on the back of the TV that's designed to sabotage your hotel experience. You could only watch their programs, right? And so I'm looking at it like, what? Because you cannot plug in. I brought my Xbox, Cog brought his Xbox. We're both trying to game. And if you plug it in, they let the image show up, but they don't let you change the volume. It's at 99. So it's not even a tolerable loud. It is like they blast it. And of course you'll get complaints. They know you can't do it.
They know you do it, so
they know you can't do it. So I'm like, what pricks? This is also specifically manufactured. Like, this was not something that was just sold on a TV line. Like, this was something manufactured for hotels.
And remember, Matty, most TVs have a physical on, off, volume on the sides. Yeah. This is some factory-made, custom, you're not tampering stuff. Continue.
Yeah. And so I look up online. I just type in, like, comfort in hotel TV, just can't change volumes. I finally a Reddit post from, I think it was like 2009 or something. Like, it was old, man. It was deep. And this guy's talking about his experience, and he's like, does anyone know how to fix this box? So this has been a thing as old as time itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking, and I see someone say, just unplug the power. And I'm like, what? I go back there, and I see a power plug connected to this little box, this control box. I yank it out. I hook up my Xbox. I fire up Tales of Arise, and I see that volume go down. And I go, yes, we're in business. So I just take a video, and I send it to Cog. I'm like, how I did it. I was like, yo, we got the key right here.
Bro, look, you elevate. Look, I got a shot. Ibantis Addict, I'm sorry. Matty has now elevated to probably the top co-host because of this.
I saved a trip, right?
Bro, you saved my trip. It was because literally it's so loud. Yeah, we're not exaggerating. The listeners, it is so loud. It's like you could hear the achievement pop and the whole hotel floor going here that you playing Xbox. I'm like, damn, bro, what is like? It's snitching on you, like this thing. So when Matty said, I said, how did he? I said, he's the greatest. I was like, he's the greatest. I got so much done, man. Salute to you on that one. That was your greatest achievement, man. I was like, I love this man. This man can do no wrong in my eyes. He helped me bypass hotel TV security. Let's go.
It was my pleasure. I was happy to see it happen too, right? Because me and Laylee were just laying there like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, we're not gonna watch TV this whole time. To answer Sweet Baby Ray's question, I gotta go with Overwatch. Like right now, my multiplayer game would probably be League, but I only play it when my buddies are home from college. But Overwatch is a game which brought the friend group I talk to nowadays together, and that was 5 years ago now. I remember grinding Overwatch every single night, and as they really dramatically shifted the meta, it just became not as fun to play.
Gotcha.
But those first like 600, 700 hours, just hopping on every night, spending time together, and this was amidst came out in 2016, right? So I think Final Fantasy 15 came out around that time. I was really excited for that. I remember Nier came out, Tales of Berseria came out. Like, there was so many different exciting games coming out, and I was still grinding Overwatch. I was like you with Destiny, right? Like in the middle of the storm, anytime I could find time for Overwatch. And it just brought us all together where, we got to know each other and become very close friends. I mean, but, we're sort of like, we go with the wave, right? So we're on to the next fighting game. Fighting games are big in my group. So that's always a pretty competitive time. It's sort of waned a little bit. The last big one was Dragon Ball FighterZ. I mean, I pumped some major hours into that game. I love that. But that was super competitive. That was like some shit talk on the next level. It was a good time, though. It was a good time, even though I got a little salty. But those are a couple games I could think of that would have got me closer to my friends. Definitely Overwatch, though.
Question with Overwatch. Who I was being asked you, I interrupt you. Who was your favorite character in Overwatch? I was curious.
I like to play Zarya. That was I loved her kit because there was nothing better than like bubbling someone right as they were going in the fray, and you hear like the doo, 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 and your power goes up, and you just turn the corner. And you're like, now I got a tank who's about to shred you because you shot the hell out of my teammate, which makes sense. I just feel like there's something great about manipulating the battlefield where it's like, of course you're going to shoot at him, but I got a bubble on him now.
Nice.
That was my main for a long time. After that, I'd say probably Lucio. I liked Lucio a little bit. I enjoyed my support. I was not about Mercy like many people were.
Yeah.
I was not good enough to be an attacker. That's for sure. For me, support and tank was definitely my best role.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the game.
Mhm.
Salute. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the
That's
different
what I
ones.
loved about it, right? The role selection was fantastic because it was like I was able to play in an area that I felt I excelled in, and that's why when they changed the meta for the first time ever in my gaming career, outside of like Call of Duty with gun nerfs, I had felt like, wow, I feel really out of sorts here, and I don't like this because they were
Yeah.
making you like or you couldn't do the triple tank meta anymore, and they were like forcing you to play a certain way. It just wasn't as fun anymore.
I feel you. I feel you.
Number 4 comes from Keith McCarthy. Hey, Matty and Cog. Not sure if this has already been addressed, but I was wondering if there's any plans to do a Psychonauts 2 spoiler cast in the future. I'm currently about 4 to 5 hours into the game. I can already tell it's going to be in the running for my game of the year. Yeah, this is definitely something that we're looking into. I just wanted to address this really quickly. The only reason I have thought about not doing it is because we just pounded away at 2, and I'm sure people won't complain about third, but we also want to make sure that we hit games that are coming out in the coming months. And I know Sacred Symbols Plus will be doing their own spoiler cast. In fact, we were just having a conversation, an email chain about who's doing what
Yep.
for review discussions and spoiler casts. So I want to make sure that Psychonauts 2 can fit in there. However, we'd like to give the audience about a month to play the game. That's at least the rule here for Defining Duke, because we know everyone's got a life, they got stuff to do. Of course, we'll start to shrink that down, I think, a little bit over time, like maybe a 2-3 week window instead, just for timeliness sake. But Psychonauts 2 is definitely on the table. We still got a couple of weeks till that 1 month mark, so we should be doing that. But I also need to assemble a squad that has played and completed the game. So
Yes.
Cog has certainly been putting in the work with some games to make sure that he's getting them done for the review spoiler cast. But I don't want to force him to beat every game I'm interested in. So
Listen, I'd be interested in if we have the time, if schedule works out. Yeah, it'd be some interest because the conversations, I got a few hours in it, but the conversations have been extremely positive for those who have done it. But again, we got to see how the schedule is. Look, the young beast, he's got a lot to play. We got to figure this thing out and timing and stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, we also want to make sure that we have room for other things like call-ins and all that stuff. We got a lot of stuff to do for DDU, so good thing and a bad thing. But we just want to make sure the audience was aware of that. All right, last question for our warm-ups. We'll get into the news. Psionics writes in, good evening, Dukes. Matty, you made the call, and I've decided to answer. It's time to inform the ignorant masses of just how much better Danganronpa is than Ace Attorney. I almost wore my Danganronpa shirt to the event, by the way, but I was like, I feel like I don't need to haunt Cog all weekend with that. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I should have done it on the meet and greet, right? You would have just had photos. You'd always see it. Inescapable. I thought Matty eloquently stated why it's better with objective facts, but it seems like we still have to teach these kids a lesson. I played through Danganronpa 1 and 2 back-to-back for the first time earlier this year due to Matty's recommendation. I was so blown away by how amazing these games are that Danganronpa 2 now has a permanent spot in my top 5 games of all time. Not only does it offer a wider variety of gameplay / mini games during the class trials than Ace Attorney's Trials, the storylines and characters are also just flat out better. I've never finished any Ace Attorney game I've started, but Danganronpa has me hooked from the moment I booted it up. I'd recommend it to anyone who likes visual novels, adventure games, or just a fan of well-crafted stories. And I hope Spike Chunsoft decides to bring these games to Xbox in the future so we can finally educate these poor folks. Yes, agreed. Glad I can be a part of the first ever visual novel war of the podcast. I hope you guys have a day full of despair. I like that. Cog, are you convinced yet? Is it, if it comes to Xbox, are you in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if it could, listen, bro. Like your people are speaking. Why they gotta be ignorant masses? He called them ignorant. I love that. Like I love
That's
when
king
you.
status, man.
Yes, when you like you're so passionate about something that you gotta disrespect the other face. But that's that competition. And listen, you sold me on it. Like you were like, yo, this thing's leaps and bounds. So salute them, man. Like he's in his bag. He's with you. And yeah, if it comes, yeah, for sure. For sure, I gotta try because just for the sake of the debate, I gotta know what's going on.
Yeah, it's gotta be right. They're doing this thing, Danganronpa Decadence. It's only on the Switch, and I'm like, come on, guys. It's this whole collection of games. It's gotta be coming. It's gotta be. Fingers crossed. But I just wanted to stoke the flames of the visual novel war here on the show a little bit.
I see what you do.
Yeah,
I see what you do.
Just keep the audience alive, awake, alert, all that stuff. I actually talked to someone at the Last Stand Media event who was wearing Danganronpa clothes, and we had a nice chat about everything Danganronpa, so that was good.
Fire.
Because I asked him what his favorite was, and he was like, Danganronpa 2. Like,
Okay.
interesting. Found that interesting because to me that's my least favorite of the three. But we'll see where
Shows the
COG
greatness of the
falls.
series, though, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it's still a really good game. All right, let's get into the news. Pretty dry week in the scheme of things, but hey, let's do it anyway. Number one, while the Last Stand media event was in full motion, PlayStation faced the ire of its fans over the aggressive pricing behind Horizon Forbidden West's next generation upgrades. What was once promised as a free upgrade for purchasers of PlayStation 4 copies looking to make the move to PlayStation 5 now came in the form of buying the game twice if you wish to experience the boons of next-gen tech. After realizing a trust had been betrayed, Jim Ryan wrote a letter to fans of the platform. Quote, Thursday was to be a celebration of Horizon Forbidden West and the amazing team at Guerrilla working to deliver it on February 18th, 2022. However, it's abundantly clear that the offerings we confirmed in our pre-order kickoff missed the mark. Last year, we made a commitment to deliver free upgrades for our cross-gen launch titles, which included Horizon Forbidden West. While the pandemic's profound impact pushed Forbidden West out of the launch window, we initially envisioned we will stand by our offer. Players who purchase Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation 4 will be able to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version for free. I also want to confirm today that moving forward, PlayStation first-party exclusive cross-gen titles newly releasing on PS4 and PS5, both digital and physical, will offer a $10 US dollar digital upgrade option for the PS4 to PS5. This will apply to the next God of War and Gran Turismo 7 and any other exclusive cross-gen PS4 and PS5 titles published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. I realize I said $10 US dollar, by the way. I apologize for that. That's annoying. VRG writes in, are Sony and Microsoft listening to internet reactions more than they have before? Sony responded to the Horizon Forbidden West complaints very quickly, and Microsoft reverted the proposed gold price hike even more quickly. So let's start there, Cog. How well are these companies listening to the backlash they receive?
Yeah, I think this is a good thing. At the end of the day, I gotta be fair. I gotta be balanced. We sit there and we've kind of told the Xbox community, hey, you guys can't get into this bag of accepting just because it's in Game Pass. Lower quality. Speak up, let your voice be heard. In the same breath, I've been having this issue with some in the PlayStation community, which is like, I start to see this prevailing thing where it's like, I started with Ghost of Tsushima with their upgrade, and some things were kind of locked with the lip sync and other things behind that forced upgrade path. And all I'm saying is this is where competition is good. When your competition is doing something, right? And I'll be honest with you, man. I thought smart delivery, when I first heard it, I thought it was a marketing term.
Oh, absolutely. All of us did. Yeah.
I was like, there's some cool buzzword, whatever. But as the generation goes on, we start to see, right, more and more, this is a real thing. You can play, free of charge your Xbox version and have it upgraded and stuff like that. And granted, I know business models are different and stuff like that, but the difference here is this was promised already. Mm-hmm. This was promised in terms of Horizon Forbidden West, that the PlayStation community was going to get it. They have on record, with these Jim Ryan and the team saying that they would provide that. And then all of a sudden now reneging, right? And then it's like, oh, by the way, $10. So, it's good to see them reverse stance. But I got to be honest, too. The second part of that statement, if you read it, still is like, yeah, we listened this one time, but you gonna pay this $10 moving forward. Yeah. So I'm like, it's good in a way. The community spoke up because I'm gonna be honest, man. I'm gonna be brutal. I was getting tired of certain people in the PlayStation community just justifying every bad business practice, every non-consumer business. Oh no, it's okay. They need the money. Oh, we can't give this stuff out for free. Like at the end of the day, sometimes we gotta stop being shareholders, right? And think about what's best for the consumer. If your competition is doing that, right, and you already promised that you were going to do it, and you don't do it, you got to be called out. The same way we called out Xbox with the gold hike out of nowhere. People are like, yo, what's going on, fam? Like, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. And when you see enough people spoke, and now we got some change. So that's the part. But I'm curious about your thoughts with this, because this was a big deal. I think the news broke. We were out on the trip, right?
Yeah, we were out on the trip. That's how I found out. We literally finished our showcase event, and then I was talking to you and I was starting to take off my mic, and someone called me to the edge of the stage and was like, Matty, look, they like reversed the decision. I was like, oh, this is a really cool way to find out. But they asked me what I thought. I was like, hey, this works fine for me. But, as I think about it a little bit more, I think, yeah, exactly what you said, that they are listening this one time. And I think it's good that both companies seem to be listening and responding closely, right? We've seen PlayStation, VRG didn't include this, but we saw them respond to what happened with the Vita and the PS3 and PSP store. PlayStation's had to be in a position where they're more communicative with their audience because they've been making some choices they've not been fans of lately. So they have to have their ear to the ground a little bit closer. I think it's so odd that they're still going to charge $10, though. I really don't know how else to put it other than with smart delivery sitting there. I still think it's a bad look. I still think it's a desperate look. And it's really hard to convince me of otherwise, because it was really bad originally. Of course, now it doesn't look as bad when they were saying like, oh, you'll buy the game for $60. If you want to play the PlayStation 5 version, you buy it again for $70. That's ridiculous. At least there is an upgrade path now, but I think that it should just be free. You should look at your competition and match what they're offering, because this is, once again, you're playing right into their hands is how I look at it from a PlayStation perspective. You are literally playing into Xbox's value plan without them doing anything, right? You should make them do something to give that value up, right? To choke it out of them almost, like they're doing to you. But instead, you put it at $10. So now people are going to look at smart delivery and they're going to look at Game Pass. That's 2 value points right there. And that matters more than ever right now as we start to slowly come out of a pandemic, right?
Yep.
Money really matters more than ever as people are losing jobs. So I just think that they are making these consequential decisions at an inopportune time, right? I don't think now's the time to start squeezing $10 out of people, especially when you're announcing big acquisitions and all this stuff, which they did this week again with a new VR studio. I look at it and go, it's clearly not. You're strung up for cash. You're investing big, right? They had millions upon millions of dollars. They announced that they were going to invest in just their first party studios alone. So I think it was 200 million was the number, but that aside, I'm not a fan of this. It's better than it was before, but I think they need to match smart delivery to the best of their ability. And it could only maybe be, sorry, I know you're about to hop in. I just want to say, it might only be $10 because I'm wondering if it's because it's such an annoying process to go through when you upgrade. Like I think of what happened with Avengers, for example, where you had to download the PS4 version, upload the save through the PS4 version, download the PS5 version, download it through the save through there. I wonder if for the developer end, they're like, you need to pay us to do this. And that's why they're putting a fee on it. There could be something behind closed doors that's shaking out that we don't quite know about, but that's my read of the situation. What were you going to say?
You literally alluded to what I was going.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so pretty much I always look at decisions or things that I'm not a fan of and try to put myself in, get my corporate cog on. You know what I'm saying? try to see suit tie, button up, what are they thinking in the boardroom? What's being said? Because as gamers, we're emotional sometimes and, we don't understand. We're not privy, like you said, to all the things behind the scene. So the only 2 things I could think of was the first thing you said, right? Which is they may not have a solution as eloquent as smart delivery, right? And this may require some extra technical prowess to do this upgrade path, right? And, as a PS5 owner, I did see some things that were strange. I remember when I first got it and I wanted to play, Miles Morales, and I downloaded it and I'm like, why do I have the PS4 version and the PS5 version on my PS5? I shouldn't even see the PS4 version, right? So I already seen from a cross-generational standpoint some weirdness that I was just like, okay, kind of thing. So to your point, Xbox is jumping all over it, as far as with the Avengers thing and stuff like that. So to me, it's 2 things. It's either one, the technical requirement to do it, resources may cost. And then the other thing, I got to be honest, and I'm very curious. I can't wait to list the sacred symbols this week because I'm very curious to see what the trio has to say with Jim Ryan, because to me, there's been some snafus. We believe in generations and, there's been things that have been walked back. So there's a part of me that when I remember when he first got on, was like, he's kind of like the business guy. He's the guy that generates money. He knows how to make money. Europe was kind of his thing, and they really killed it. So I'm very curious if it's also, hey, this is our business model. This is going to get it. Because remember, in fairness, PlayStation does not operate with the same business model as Xbox. They have their own thing, and I got to be fair to that. But I'm curious if it's one of those things that they are sticking to their business model, and that's the way they're looking to generate, navigate, a console generation where, let's be honest, consoles are not really out there in the wild, and people really it's very still hard to get these consoles. Let's just be honest. Yeah. So it's curious. I'm gonna get in my corporate cog, see if I could dig and get some behind the scenes. You know what I mean? What's going on in the boardroom, y'all? What's going on that y'all need this $10?
I know, right? I know. It's interesting to say the least, and it will be an interesting week for PlayStation. Certainly, Sacred Symbols with this, and of course, they have the PlayStation Showcase coming up soon, which will be exciting. It's like 40 plus minutes of new announcements, reveals, all that stuff. So I'm excited to see what they do with that. Yes. But beyond all of that, I just found this to be relevant to the Xbox ecosystem in a way where it's again a situation where I find that PlayStation is handing Xbox W's, if you will, while Xbox is doing nothing about it, right? Like they've sort of set up a system that PlayStation continues to sort of push people towards why it's good, right? Xbox didn't have to market smart delivery after launch because PlayStation did the marketing for it by how they handled their next gen upgrades. And it continues to be a major talking point on it was not a buzzword thing like a lot of us thought. Like smart delivery is a legitimate service now that needs to be considered when you're looking into the ecosystem and purchasing, because I think the reason they're doing this is because as well, we need to really consider in all fairness that within the next year and change, we're going to start to see the PS4, the Xbox One. They're going to start to, less the Xbox One because of cloud gaming, but the PS4 is going to start to phase out over time.
Yeah.
I think they'll do it maybe a little bit slower just because of how in demand it is and how little they can produce. But when you look at the amount of exclusives they've released compared to when the PS4 first launched, they're actually ahead of the game. So I could be wrong on that call, but I just find this whole perspective interesting because I wonder how much it will hurt them if this is only going to be another year. Like maybe they're looking at it going, yeah, we only have God of War, Gran Turismo, and a couple other cross-gen third-party games. Let's just do it this way for the time being. Right. Because they do specify exclusive cross-gen. So the rest is up to separate publishers and how they want to handle their respective products, as it's always been.
Yes. Yeah. And my final point I'll say is you made a good point as far as the whole handing, W's, but necessarily not the Xbox not capitalizing, but I feel like the PlayStation base is more tolerant for some. Some are more tolerant to deal with these type of policies. And I think it comes down to credit build up in your community based on the high quality of the first party offerings, right? And I think that once Xbox continues to match them on quality, in these games that's coming out, we see the indie scene, we see things first party, we know the studio acquisitions. I think once that continues, then you'll start to see the shift where people are like, hey, Microsoft's offering this Avowed and they giving me Starfield, and these are like major, highly rated games, and they ain't charging me. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's because the generation they had before was so dominant and so strong in first party offer. I think it's allowed them more room than most companies would be allowed to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because the excuse, and the last one I'll say, the excuse for people for say, hey, it's in Game Pass $3.99. The excuse I hear is, oh, well, they make bangers. Well, they make bangers. So so I'll deal with whatever bad consumer practice. You see?
Yeah. I just think that the standard should be for both companies that you should make your first party as tantalizing as humanly possible. So you need to make it where you can access the best version, in this case, of your first party releases with ease, right? It doesn't have to be every single game, right? They don't need to fully adopt everything that there is to do with smart delivery. But I think that if you are releasing something from Guerrilla, you should make it where that studio is, the games from them can be upgraded for free. And anything from Sony Santa Monica, Bluepoint, so on and so forth, all of those games, if there is some type of upgrade path, should be free. It doesn't have to be for everything, but for your first party, the the people you've invested in, the people that are bringing people to your console. Like, there's got to be that almost special treatment, if you will, for their games versus everyone else, where no matter where you're playing, you can leap, go back and forth, what have you.
Yeah, I would love it, man. That's when competition is good.
Mm-hmm. Defining Duke is brought to you by Mack Weldon. I want all of you to stop thinking so much about what to wear and just embrace this radically efficient Mack Weldon daily wear system. All right, quick story time here. This past weekend, we had an evening with Last Stand Media. I had the fantastic opportunity to meet a lot of you out there, shake your hands, and learn how far you traveled to meet us. I drove 6.5 hours to Butler, Pennsylvania. Some of you out there drove even further, and even crazier, some of you flew and then drove. And you know what's important when you're on those long rides, whether you're in the sky or on the road? That's right, comfort, okay? So your boy was sporting the Ace sweatshorts over from Mack Weldon, which have modern tailoring, and they pair perfectly with their ultra soft, ultra upgraded Pima tees. Yeah, plus ultra, I know, right? Also, for travel, they have the silver knit polo and radius shorts, which are the perfect high-tech, highly packable combo. Buy some this summer with the Mack Weldon daily wear system. For 20% off your order, visit mackweldon.com/Duke and enter the promo code Duke. That's mackweldon.com/Duke, promo code Duke for 20% off. Mack Weldon, radically efficient wardrobing. Number 2. Alan Wake is still one of the most unique experiences found originally on the Xbox 360. And now folks the Microsoft ecosystem can enjoy this trippy psychological thriller. Announced in one of the coolest ways imaginable, developer Remedy and creative director Sam Lake took to the Sudden Stomp, a massive fan site for all things Remedy, to reveal their plans for a remaster. Quote, Alan Wake Remastered is the original experience you fell in love with all those years ago. We did not want to change that. But the visuals all around, including the character model of Alan Wake himself and the cinematics, have been updated and improved with some choice next-generation upgrades, end quote, explains Sam Lake in a letter. Alan Wake Remastered is coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One this fall. A leaked release date on Taiwanese retailer Rakuten suggests currently that October 5th will be the day the game drops. Just in August of 2021, Remedy had confirmed to enthusiasts that Control had reached 10 million players. They are currently grinding out a new AAA game alongside Epic, and a sequel to Control appears to be in the works as well. Joshua Brown writes in, hey Jedi Consular Matty and Dregin Cod, with the recent announcement of Alan Wake Remaster and the strong rumors of a sequel coming from Remedy in partnership with Epic, I'd just like to know your thoughts on the IP and if you'll give the remaster a go. Personally, I think playing Alan Wake and then Control is a good education for any curious gamer looking to step into Remedy's David Lynch/X-Files inspired world of weird. Much love from Accrington, England. Josh, P.S. KOTOR 2 is the best KOTOR.
Ooh.
I have no arguments with that.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
I like 1 the most, but 2 is aged way better. All right. Alan Wake, is this something you've played? Do you have any fond memories with this game, Cog?
Yeah, it's been so long. I just don't remember it. That's why this is so exciting to me. Like, because I remember, quote me if I'm right, there was like a 360 in the game or something like that. Like, it was like an Easter egg and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm looking forward to it because I need my memory refreshed. It's been a while, right? And it's kind of those things like when the Mass Effect trilogy was announced and stuff. It's like, damn, it's been a while. Mm-hmm. I forgot about this and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm super pumped for this. I have, like, when I heard about this is, in the Xbox community, this is one of those games people are like, yo, when are we getting this? Mm-hmm. Is a sequel ever gonna happen? I don't know. A lot of people like Control, and then obviously I don't want to spoil it, but there's some references.
Right. So
I know you didn't play, yeah. But all I would say, this is exciting, and to me, if you're remastering something randomly out of nowhere, generally it's a test bed for something else.
Yeah, you'd have to wonder if after, let me get the exact release date here. It's been 11 years since Alan Wake dropped. You'd have to imagine that suddenly doing it now, something has to be on the way. I'd be very shocked if it wasn't.
I'm gonna give it to you, man. What you think going on?
Yeah, I think they're definitely working on a sequel. I think that's pretty apparent. It's been rumored strongly. I think the connections to Control also make a strong suggestion that they're doing something with Alan Wake, or rather the references to Alan Wake within Control. I worded that poorly. And then now a remaster. I think all signs point to there being a sequel. So now's a good time to hop in. For me, I haven't played this game since around its launch period as well. But one thing I do distinctly remember is there's nothing quite like this game. Like I said in the write-up, it's one of the most unique experiences that you can really have in the, if you will, horror genre. It's not horror in a traditional sense, however. Right? There's not really jump scares, but there's pure tension. You're not really scrounging ammunition for bullets. You're using a flashlight. Like there's a lot there that's very, very different from anything that I've seen before. There's still really nothing that is, from my experience, replicated that. Now, the story itself for Alan Wake is really weird and trippy, where once it ends, you might just go, what happened here? That's sort of been Remedy's brand for some time now. And I'm hoping with a potential sequel, as well as whenever I play Control, maybe things will make a little bit more sense. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I don't know if, let's say it does drop October 5th. I don't know if I'll leap right on this. This to me says more of a winter game. You know, like
okay.
Yeah, hunkering down during the holiday time, playing a little horror game. I know some people are like, it's coming out in October. What? But I totally get that. Just I think with the timing of reviews and stuff, I'll be busy where I want to give this game its time because I think it'll be important in the long run. And I like that they're making it multi-plat so PlayStation fans can finally see what Xbox and PC players have been enjoying for some time now. And I do wonder what that means when they sign this deal with Epic to make this new AAA game, presumably Alan Wake, what that means for the future of that game in the terms of like, will it be an Epic Game Store exclusive, kind of like how Control was at first? Because what's interesting is Control was so good. I remember it didn't even chart in the August month it had released. It bombed. So the fact that it crawled to 10 million players, while those aren't all purchases, shows that the game was so good that word of mouth really helped it. And I wonder if Remedy just strongly believes in signing a deal, getting the game done by any means possible, and helping players find it over time, and then making more money over time that way. Yeah. But what do you think overall of the idea of a sequel? Are you about this?
Yeah, huge. Listen, I'm always about, I'm a proponent of if a game has a strong initial launch as an IP, or even I should say that, not if they have a strong initial launch, but if it's solid enough and well received by the fans, but the fans demand a sequel. And I always felt that with Alan. Shout out to my boy Randall Thor. This is like one of his favorite games of all time. Like he's been preaching this to Phil and the team, like, yo, when we get Alan Wake 2, like, what's going on? Kind of thing. I have a lot of friends who are the same boat where it's like, yo, what is going on? And that was one of those things with Xbox, which is like, you want them when they have an initial IP that is solid, you want that sequel, you want that improvement to go on. And in this case, maybe it was a situation where from a development standpoint, from a cost standpoint, maybe Microsoft wasn't interested at that time. This is like way back, old school Xbox when they were in acquisition studio phase. They were doing a lot of third party deals. They didn't control a lot of IPs. Right. So maybe then it's not the same Microsoft now where Microsoft would lock stuff down and all that other stuff. So, I'm excited, man. And like you said earlier, you said, PlayStation base is going to get a chance to experience it too, because this is a beloved franchise. Make no mistake. I'm super excited to see a next gen Alan Wake 2, where they take the story. Do we get some Control crossover? Do we, do we get this whole shared MCU universe, with all the Remedy games, kind of thing. Throw Quantum Break in there,
too. I was going to say, give me some Quantum Break love. Like, I don't want them to forget that while they're at it. Maybe that's what they're working on. Imagine that. There's a little bit of a AAA project with Epic, and they're like, everyone's thinking it's Alan Wake, and it's Quantum Break too.
It's Quantum Break. We see your man. That was the guy that played Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. Like, let's get them all in one universe, man. Let's do something crazy.
I'd be about it. I hope they do that. That'd be cool. I think they could pull that off. But yeah, them working on potentially 2 sequels in parallel, I imagine these two are going to connect in some way, which would be really cool to see.
No doubt.
Number 3. Things got pretty intense over the past week at Tripwire, who's best known for Chivalry series, as well as Maneater. Their CEO, John Gibson, has received a boot, and Alan Wilson has been assigned as interim CEO in the meanwhile. The reasoning, this tweet right here, quote, proud of #US Supreme Court affirming the Texas law banning abortion for babies with a heartbeat. As an entertainer, I don't get political often, yet with so many vocal peers on the other side of this issue, I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer, end quote. John Gibson was released afterwards alongside the following letter, end quote, quote, the comments given by John Gibson are of his own opinion and do not reflect those of Tripwire Interactive as a company. His comments disregarded the values of our whole team, our partners, and much of our broader community. Our leadership team at Tripwire are deeply sorry and are unified in our commitment to take swift action and to foster a more positive environment, end quote. John Gibson was also immediately denounced by many surrounding him prior to the firing. Quote, this perspective is not shared by our team, nor is it reflected in the games we create. The statement stands in opposition to what we believe about women's rights, end quote, said Torn Banner Studios, who developed Chivalry 2. All right, Cog, so we have a CEO that got the boot over a tweet. And the first thing I really wanted to dive into with this, because I know it's not a pretty topic, is some folks were debating if this was because he was pretty much saying, you know, I'm on the other side of this issue compared to other game developers, or if it's because of the bill in particular that he was supporting. And overall, it became this conversation of cancel culture again in our industry. And like I said, I want to try to always make sure on our show we're trying to delicately tackle the tough topics, right? Not dive knee deep into politics like this one would. I don't think this is the one fully demands it, but like this one demands to some extent. But we want to make sure we have these conversations and that these news get their look on our show. So what do you think of what's going on at Tripwire and how the overall situation was handled?
Great question, man. Because you know, when I saw this was a big one this week.
Mm-hmm.
This is going crazy. And you know, before I got to give the Cog disclaimer. You know what I'm saying, that I always say. You know, one thing about me, I don't care about your race, religion, sexuality, or politics. Those things don't concern me, right?
Yeah.
Now, pertaining to this is a very interesting situation because, you know, I'm a huge Chivalry 2 fan. You know, I'm about to get Torn Banner on ILP where we're talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things. I think it's a hilarious game, you know, kind of thing. And then this comes out and I'm like, oh boy, this is crazy, right? So here's my thing. With the CEO's comments, whatever. Again, in my opinion, he has the right to say whatever he wants to say, right? If he's pro-life, that's you, bro, all good, right? All I'm saying is, in this climate, when you put that out publicly, whatever you put out publicly, you have to be prepared to deal with the consequence that comes with it from people who feel the opposite. Right. And that, to me, is what has happened here. I'm never going to be on the side of anybody losing their job because of a tweet. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we're here at Last Stand Media. We know of shout out to Kala. You know what I'm saying? I call him Cobra Commander. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm never on that side. Like, I feel everyone should be able to voice, as long as respectfully, what they feel on regard to those 4 tenets I say, right? Race, religion, sexuality, politics. I don't care. That's your feeling. That's your timeline. That's you, bro. All good. But, you know, yeah, I don't feel great about someone losing their job about that. All I'm saying is when you put that out, if you're the person who's going to put that out, you have to be prepared to deal with any consequences that may come with it. And I think that's what's happened here. And I was shocked to see, like, you know, a lot of, the Torn Band, a lot of internally, they were like, yo, you out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
this was like, I would almost say they were ahead of the response from the public. Like, they were pretty incensed immediately and had their statement out separating that right away, when I don't think it was a pile on. I think it was just, it happened really fast, which is why I thought it was really an interesting topic, where I almost don't even think this was a cancel culture moment. I do think this was just a difference in belief internally. And they were like, no, like, we do not agree with you. We do not stand with you. And that was it. I'm right there with you on the idea of, you know, I don't care about that race, sexuality, the 4 pillars that you had brought up. To me, yeah, I don't like to see someone lose a job over a tweet. It's just one of those things where I understand how folks would, you know, because politics can sometimes be associated with ethics. We've sort of carried into that where it used to be a separation of like foreign policy and so on and so forth. But now it's about like, what your politics are is the type of person you are. And if you show that, I put this in quotes, you're a bad person and you're leading a company, these shareholders are not going to be pleased. And it's why a lot of folks, I think, stay very quiet politically, because you just never know what kind of blowback you're going to get, even when you think you're educated. I will say with his tweet, I don't know why he felt this was the bill. This was the moment for him to take his shot and let people know. I don't think people would have cared if he were pro-life, but I don't know if this bill was the play. I'm going to be real. I don't think it was the play in the idea of what he was trying to get across. Once again, I don't think people would care if he's pro-life as deeply. It would have probably been like, oh, ew. But, I ultimately just a really messy situation, and they got rid of him very quickly. So wanted to just share our perspective on that. I was surprised as well. And we'll see how the situation develops, because they do plan on having more conversations with partners and shareholders, doing some type of like press release. So there will be more conversation on this. We'll see if it's anything worth talking about on their company's future. But when they mentioned partners, that's when I was like, this was a shareholder move for sure. Like they started to immediately feel like, let's not jeopardize the good position we're in thanks to Chivalry and Hater.
Bro, and Chivalry, both of those are good games. And Chivalry, listen, I love Chivalry. I think Chivalry 2 has the potential to be really good. They just got to get their crossplay together. It's just a romp, man. It is a romp with friends and just out in the battlefield yelling, seize him. And it's just like, it's like literally Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards, and you just yelling out foolishness. It's a fun game. And
Isn't that on Game Pass?
No, and I'm so mad, bro, because I'm like, it's like all our fans are literally telling us like, bro, this is Iron Lords, the game. Like it's literally your knights and lords and the whole bit. And it's just like, yo, and I can imagine internally with this game doing well, right? They just they put a new patch out, a lot of bug fixes, new content already. Like it must be doing well. So I could see internally, like, your man made the comment and, the shareholders are like, bro, you not messing up the bag. When, you know what I'm saying? So I agree with you, man. I think that's exactly what happened. I think internally they was like, nah, fam, that's not it. And it was quick, like you said, internal, swift. Yeah. Wow, I was like, wow.
I just think if they start to distinguish over the week why the decision was made, I'm curious if it was, once again, I wonder if it was because of the bill or if it's because he was pro-life. I think
good question.
There's a small separation there that's worth taking a look at. And I'm very curious to see if that'll ever be explained or not. But nonetheless, that's what's going on over at Tripwire.
Yeah.
Number 4, Mr. N7 himself is going to like this one. The next Mass Effect was revealed late last year, and it appears that it won't be seen until 2025. Still, it's out and about, and with a new report by Jeff Grubb, one thing cannot be ignored. BioWare is finally looking into an engine beyond EA's in-house Frostbite tech after being burned by it in both Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem. The report on VentureBeat suggests that by the time that Mass Effect 5 rolls around, Frostbite could be entirely dated, which would not bode well for the next-gen game that hopes to move everything forward. With that, the team has shifted their attention to Unreal Engine. It's not known yet if they have fully committed to this change. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 were all developed on Unreal Engine 3. Ever since Dragon Age Inquisition in 2014, it has been all Frostbite for BioWare. Cog, what do you think of Mass Effect potentially making that move back to Unreal Engine? I mean, Frostbite is still going to be on the next Dragon Age game, sadly. So fingers crossed, in my book, this is the last time that we see BioWare on Frostbite. What do you think about them going back to Unreal, maybe?
So glad you picked this question. Shout out to the Last Stand Media J, event, live event, and obviously this game came up in one of my presentations. But Colin did ask me a question. He was just we would talk about Unreal Engine 5. That's one of my bullet points, and how revered it is, how well it holds up. You play these games, you're like, man, it still looks good, right? And then we hear about Unreal Engine 5, right? And the stuff that's about to come out, and how all the studios now are ramping up and going to be introducing these. I always felt internally as a techie gamer that Unreal always had one of the best engines. Like their games really look beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's no disrespect to Frostbite. There's some beautiful Frostbite games, don't get me wrong. But where this comes in, and I want to shout out Jason Schreier, who we've had, in the realm, he did a very good expose on the issues, the technical hell with Anthem.
Yes.
And it was a curious, because remember, I'm Team Looter Shooter. I'm Destiny, right? So Anthem at the time when it was coming out, I'm like, yo, I want to know everything about it. And just to see that thing crash and burn the way it did was just, and then BioWare EA said, hey, we're not even making another one.
Mm-hmm.
And when you dig deeper, you go into the layers of the report, what was going on in the boardroom, one of the big points of contention, Matty, was Frostbite. And what it is when EA basically, from a corporation standpoint, they say, look, we're not going to pay for that license for Unreal Engine. We're going to have Frostbite, our own internal engine for all of our software development and our in-house games. And from a business standpoint, I get it, because it's like, okay, why pay out money when you got your own engine? But from what I heard, with Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda, the Mass Effect we don't speak about, the Mass Effect that shall not be named, that as far as I'm concerned don't even exist, but that's another story for here or there. But at the end of the day, it's like, bro, like the developers are hearing or struggling, fighting with it, trying to get things done on Anthem, trying to get things done, and they had done Mass Effect on Unreal all this time. So that was, to me, another huge contributing factor as to why Andromeda was not well received. So to hear them go back to this, shout out to Jeff Grubby Grub, good dude. We got to get him on, Duke. He's got,
sure, man.
You know what I'm saying? So like I'm excited, and I think this is a big deal. Last one I'll say is this. This is a big deal because this is EA kind of going against corporate, like their own corporate thinking, right? This is against them going against the bank to pay more money. And the only other time I've seen this from EA recently is, I gotta shout out my man, the legend, Vince Zampella from Respawn. Yeah. Respawn was one of the only ones that came in there and said, fam, we doing what we doing. How are we doing it? Whatever engine we're doing it, you are not going to make us beholden, because they came in with the cachet of Modern Warfare, the guys that created that, the Infinity Ward team. Like, you're not going to tell us, and that's why I stand, strong with them. They do what they want. But I'll give it to you. Like, I noticed I'm all super excited because, like, Mass Effect's my heart. And I feel this is a big reason why Mass Effect couldn't get where it needed to go, because of Andromeda and that damn Frostbite.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's a big reason why they couldn't get anywhere since Dragon Age Inquisition. I remember speaking to Jason Schreier in his write-up, he had specifically mentioned that a lot of the studio was upset when Dragon Age Inquisition did well, because they were like, we're stuck with Frostbite now. Like, they wanted the game to some extent not do as well as it did. It was a Game of the Year winner. It reviewed very well, which, by the way, I don't know how. I don't know where people's heads were at with that one. I think it's a decent game, but no, you cannot tell. That game is objectively bloated, and there's no change in my mind on that. With that separate, we'll pull that out of the conversation, opinions aside. Yeah, this is obviously great news, because we saw stories of how they would want to change the lighting in an area, and when they wanted to bake it in, it would take, I think they mentioned days at one point, versus what it would take in Unreal. There's just something with Frostbite that does not clearly work very well for what BioWare likes to do with their games. And it set them back dramatically, where they have mismanaged projects so horribly that they've had to, their last two games they've had to make in 18 months. I'm sorry, but the fee that you have to pay for Unreal after you sell 1 million copies, I think it's 5%. That's nothing compared to what a good BioWare game will do, right? That's nothing. Put yourself in a position to succeed, and BioWare especially, and they'll make you your money. You just make a little bit less with that 5% from Unreal, which once again is not that much. But beyond that, it was, you could see how more flexible their games were in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 through the Legendary Edition when they were on Unreal Engine. You could just see what they were able to do at one point with something they were familiar with that wasn't fighting what they were trying to make. And then right when they went to Inquisition, right when they went in there were just weird ancient choices. Like, I always mention this, but it's always worth bringing up, is sometimes party members wouldn't talk. You'd have to like go to an object and it would say like, listen to Sarah, and you'd click X and then they'd start speaking. It's like, even the natural party banter was disjointed in this game.
Yes.
From that to design decisions by MMO directors to bloat areas. There's a decent game underneath it, but Frostbite hurt that. They
Yeah.
have only gone downhill since. That was their best effort, funny enough, in Frostbite. It only got worse from there,
Yep.
which shows how uncomfortable they are with the engine. So I'm just hoping that this is not a situation where they're testing it out and bringing things to Frostbite afterwards, like seeing what they need to upgrade Frostbite to then make it on there, rather than just, I think if they're going to make a tool set for Unreal, they're going to stick there. It makes, I'm vaguely familiar with game development. Even I know, like, once you make your tool set, why would you go back? Like, you just dramatically extend your development time. So I think if they start to build on Unreal, that's it. Done deal. Like, they're staying there. So we'll see, but I feel pretty confident they're going to make the switch.
Good point. I agree, because it's very unprecedented. It's very, very like strange to see them kind of pull back and reverse course, right? And the other thing I was saying, you said in reference to the tool set, if you're going to bring that in, right? Good point. Like, this may be what you may be doing moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think about the other points you said about development hell, like, where Dragon's Age, what is going on with that, right? The new one, right? And then the other fact that I just thought about now is they did well with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. They sold well. Like, that had to embolden them on some level to say, okay,
yeah, you're right.
We just had to do some touch-ups here and there, but people think it looks great, it plays great, and that's the Mass Effect they love. So I think all those factors, I think we may have answered it, right? All those factors, Matty, like, may just put into a fact to say, you know what? Let's do what's best for the developers. And we're making money if we do this the right way. So
yeah, it's why I tell people all the time that Mass Effect Legendary Edition shouldn't convince you what BioWare can do on a level of quality, because it's not like they're making a whole new game. But it should be encouraging on the level of how the game performs strong enough to start shaking things up and to wake up some of the corporate heads. I think that, combined with Jedi Fallen Order, they learned, like, hey, 5% isn't that big of a deal, or whatever percent it ends up being isn't that big of a deal for this engine if we make a good game and it sells, in the case of Jedi Fallen Order, like 10 million copies. It's like, okay, we're fine. That's not including stuff like Game Pass deals. Like, there's so many ways to make up that 5% and go beyond it, that I think they're seeing that now. And yeah, we'll probably be enjoying Mass Effect 5 on Unreal.
Preach.
You know how it's always portrayed that the bride is the one who is like really excited about the wedding and the planning of it and everything from the time they were young? Well, I was the groom who was excited. And part of my excitement was about my wedding ring. I wanted it to be cool. I didn't really want to go to the store and have to pick out from one of the boring rings they had in the showcase. And it just wasn't quite the experience I was hoping for as someone who was actually invested in my wedding. Well, the good thing is that Manly Bands is here to rescue us from, well, let's face it, a hellish band buying experience. They offer you the freedom to look how you want in just about every type of ring that you can imagine. As a matter of fact, I chose the Protagonist as my ring, but it was really difficult because there were so many different rings that I thought were really cool. And for me, I've been married for almost a decade, and so I already have a ring. But I don't know, have you ever thought maybe you need a little change up in your wardrobe? Or maybe you've lost your ring and it's time to buy a new one. Or, hey, maybe you're going to be going out on a different activity. You don't want your original ring to get lost or scuffed up, but you would be happy to buy a new ring that also looks nice, but not have to worry about it so much. If you want to check out Manly Bands, go over and get the Manly Ring Sizer from Manly Bands to ensure that your ring will fit perfectly, whether you're working or playing or anything in between. Once you know your size, it's time to go over and pick out your ring. This is the most difficult part, but it's also the most fun part, in my opinion. You could choose from one of the curated collections, like the Jack Daniel's Whiskey Barrel Collection. Lots of cool stuff in there. Once you've selected your band, Manly Bands will give you free shipping, 30-day exchange policy, and a free warranty. You don't get that at the mall jewelry store. To order your Manly Band and get 21% off plus a free silicone ring, go to manlybands.com/Duke. That's manlybands.com/Duke for 21% off. Manly Bands, the best damn rings, period.
Speaking of fives, number 5, Windows 11 arrives on October 5th. The important part, it will add major improvements for those who call PCs their home for gaming. Features already on the series consoles, such as Auto HDR, will be included. Also joining the pack is DirectX 12 Ultimate, which allows the use of DirectX ray tracing, mesh shaders, and variable rate shading. Perhaps the most important change of them all is Direct Storage API, which will cut down pesky load times in games. Now, this will be a gradual rollout over time, so some folks will get this later than others. But Windows 11 on its way, Cog.
Yeah, man. Let's get it. Let's get it, man. Let's get this PC. You know, I'm team improved PC Game Pass. Please, let's improve it.
Yeah,
And,
hopefully this is a step in that direction.
Yeah, one of the things I'm hearing internally, you know, I got my ear to the ground, Cog's listening, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And one of the things I hear is, you know, Windows 11 is a huge factor as to why, you know, things haven't advanced the way I would have liked in the PC.
Windows 11 or 10?
Windows 10, excuse me.
No,
Correct.
okay, sorry.
Thank you for correcting me.
No, you're
Windows 10 was another reason, you know, why things haven't advanced. So the introduction of Windows 11 with these features we're talking about, you know, is going to really, from my understanding, help them to get what they need, right? And to get all these issues with, you know, UWP and all the PC port stuff. And, you know, we talked about Ascent,
Mhm.
you know, and that's a major thing, right? So I'm excited, man. Like all of this stuff, you know, Auto HDR, I think it's highly underrated as a person who games on OLED. It is, I mean, man, you saw my Destiny screenshots. You see, bro, Auto HDR makes like games like shout out to homie Ben, Lord Ben, Duke Ben of Mayor Butler. You know, he's a big Sea of Thieves fan. If you play Sea of Thieves, bro, that thing with the sun rays and the water reflection, like HDR makes things shine as well as older games.
Right.
And then, you know, ray tracing, all these cool features. And as we talked about pre-show before we started, you know, shout out to people who are going to be in the alpha ring on the console. They're adding a lot of other features too. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a DLSS equivalent potentially, you know, that's coming. And one thing about Xbox that I always like, and for people to say, hey, why are you such a fan of it? If you're a techie, they're very advanced in the space. They always pushing new technology into the space, and that stuff excites me. I like to see the next generation what differentiates it from the last. So yeah, I'm excited. Well, you know, any of these features kind of stand up for you that got you, you know.
Yeah, I just invested in my nice ass PC, so you know I'm pretty excited to start getting into that a little bit. And yeah, with these new upgrades coming at just the right time. I'm going to be setting it up this week or probably next week. So, you know, I'm like,
can I get some stats though? Can you
yeah, we got a little i9 in there. Yeah, we got 3080.
Only 38.
Yeah,
the video Mr. Matty Plays YouTube channel about to be.
It's going to be right here. You know, it's going to be sitting here, this tank of a PC, and we're going to be grinding out a lot of content with it. So, very excited about it. And yeah, I went pre-built because you gotta nowadays to get all your stuff. So, I've always been team pre-built though. Just want to shout that out. Been pre-built since 2012. So you know, even when people were like, "No, don't do it," I was like, "I'm doing it anyway." And I bought my PC, and it was fine. I was like, "All right, I'm not going to build my PC. I'm sorry, but I don't want to.
I don't
trust myself." There's nothing but a backache involved in that, so you know, forget it. But yeah, for me, I'm with you, Auto HDR, but I think the Direct Storage API is also what stands out. I think anything that you can do to cut down load times is always going to be impactful for the game, right? That's one of the next gen features, if you will, that is still not lost its luster on me. You know, and I think it's because I've gone through a whole lifetime of long load screens. I still play retro games where I see long load screens. So for me to like die in a game, get ready to reach for the phone, and my hand's just resting on it, and it's like loading in, and I'm like, oh, never mind. Back to the game I go. I mean, huge difference maker. So that's also very exciting. And of course, that will factor in with specific pieces of hardware. Like you got to have an SSD for that, you know, that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Appreciate to the choir, brother. I think that's a game changer. Absolutely. NVMe SSD, just even rebooting a console or a PC that has an NVMe SSD solution. I remember when I first got it, I was like, oh my God. Like you said, the time you look to go to your phone, it's already rebooted. The game's already low. Like huge, bro. Huge.
Absolutely. Number 6 is another PC-centric topic, but think people will find this interesting. Microsoft has made an acquisition. Introducing Clipchamp. Clipchamp is a suite of video editing tools that run through the browser. Chris Prattley of Microsoft's Office Group suggests that this could be rolled into Microsoft's 365 subscription service. Quote, as a web app that uses the full power of your PC, Clipchamp is a natural fit to extend the cloud-powered productivity experiences in Microsoft 365 for individual families, schools, and businesses. It's also a great fit for Microsoft Windows, which is a platform for boundless creativity. Whether you are editing game clips, making a school project, putting together a memory for your kids, or assembling the next indie short, Clipchamp and Microsoft will help you express yourself through the emotional power of video. If you are already a Clipchamp user, it's going to get better with more options, more power, and the easy creative experiences that you love, end quote. During the launch of the Xbox One, Upload Studio was a heavily promoted tool that was used to push gamers to share clips of their experience to social media. After a 7-year run, the app was replaced with the Xbox app for mobile alongside the Capture and Share tab. So I was wondering when I saw this if we could get Clipchamp on consoles. That's where my head went to right away. And what do you think? I don't tend to share the experiences on Xbox. I'll be honest, as much as PlayStation, on PlayStation's click of a button, it's right there. It's all very intuitive, I felt. With Xbox, I just don't tend to mess around with it. The screenshots are fine. But what do you think of video sharing on Xbox? Where do you sit on potential of Clipchamp here?
This is huge.
Oh, it is?
This is huge.
Right.
The geek in me is going crazy. I'm loving this. First of all, shout out to the legendary Ches Corder, Windows Central, who we've had on Defining Duke. He was the one that brought this to my attention.
Yes. Same.
And yes, man, this is a huge deal because, like you said, PlayStation, man, one thing about PS5 that I love, if you're a person like me who likes to show off game clips, videos, what you're doing in the game, I'm putting out nice skylines of Ghost of Tsushima, I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, it is so easy. It is like a press of a button to the point where I can even, if I save like a video clip, I could even cut it down so easily and then take a screenshot from within the video clip and just manipulate it and I changed the resolution, changed the format from PNG to JPEG. It is so robust in PS5. And then I look at my Xbox and I'm like, fam, I'm playing Destiny. I got a nice skybox pick. I'm like, oh, this looks beautiful. I'm a stunt. I'm a show. You saw what I put up. You know how much work it was I had to do? First of all, the thing that they have is it's very antiquated. It's from still the old Xbox One, right? And the VCR Xbox One.
Oh,
and the thing about it, yeah, it's bad, bro. It's bad. So, it takes you out of the game to a separate app. Then it's clunky. You don't have a lot of features. And bro, it crashes a lot. I hate to bash the team because I love the team, but platform team, that ain't it. That is not it. That UI is horrible for video clip editing, screen sharing. So when I hear about this, because again, Cog has his ear to the ground and Cog gets asked, y'all gotta improve that damn DVR. It's awful. It's awful. So when I hear Clipchamp, okay. I hear, okay, whatever you got to do to improve, because your competition is smoking you in this.
Yeah.
Like PlayStation's running laps around.
It's so
and this
important.
it's a big thing. The last point I'll say is that, one thing I really love about, PlayStation first party games, just the community about Sony is that they showcase their games like a badge of honor, like that photo mode and putting that stuff out. And I feel Xbox really hasn't had that. And I think it's all due to the tools. While where they have improved, where I think Sony's regressed, is the actual dashboard customization. One thing that I love about PS4 that I could make the dashboard my own, and then with PS5 they kind of took that away, and now I'm noticed Xbox you couldn't, and in Series X now I got my dynamic theme, I got my Halo Infinite, I got the stars.
I'm going with the OG Xbox one. That's my favorite. I don't think I'll ever change that, man. I love that. I love that they did that. I thought that was such a nice touch. That's one of my favorite consoles ever. So I was like, yo. Just not even, I shouldn't even say favorite consoles ever. The aesthetic of the console.
The aesthetic.
I fucking love that
It's
shit,
hot.
man.
It is hot.
We literally
It's
named our
classic.
show after that generation.
It's the Duke.
Yeah.
It's the Duke. But I'll give it to you. I'm enough, be bloviating about.
No, I think you were.
Clipchamp.
I don't know if I can add much to it because I don't tend to share my clips much, and I just think that PlayStation makes it much easier. So I think you spoke with much more expertise than I could really offer on this subject, other than they said in the write-up that whether you're editing game clips, so I imagine that Clipchamp will be making its way to consoles. Either that or they're talking about editing game clips on the computer through Clipchamp. It could mean that, but they have to have gone through that statement and understood what that would be assumed to be if someone had picked up on it. So not the biggest news story, but I think one that for those looking to share their experiences, hopefully that will bring some improvements there. And that's all we've got for news this week. Like I said, kind of a light week. PlayStation is going to be dominating the conversation mostly. And so Xbox will bide their time and speak soon, I imagine. So let's get into Game Pass pick of the week. This time it was my choice. This may sound weird given what's launching this week, but I'll explain in a second. I picked Tales of Vesperia.
Ooh.
Now, Tales of Arise came out this week. I gave it a pretty strong review. Once again, if anyone's interested in full thoughts on it, 20 plus minutes, please check that out on my channel.
Get over there.
With that said, I know a lot of people are looking at Tales going, well, I've never played this. This actually looks like it has a budget. Should I get into this series? What does it feel like? And while Vesperia won't channel all of that, because once again, it's significant how much more money was pumped into Arise than any other Tales game I can think of. Vesperia is available on Game Pass, so you can play it and get a little bit of a feel of what the combat is like, what the vibe of a Tales game is, from its exploration to the party banter to the skits. There's a lot of systems that carry over from Tales game to Tales game to Tales game, but what happens is Arise just immensely improves it. So if you saw the reviews for Arise, they're very, very positive, which does not surprise me. The game is excellent. One of the best JRPGs of the year. Right? Right, yeah. Gotta get that grunt in there. It's that good. So I was thinking to myself, if I were not to have ever played the Tales of series, would I just cold purchase Arise, or would I download Vesperia, which is this is the definitive edition, but it was originally 360 only in 2008, I want to say. And I was thinking, you know what? I think I would want to try Tales of Vesperia just to get a feel for some of the systems are there. You don't have to play it in full, but I thought that it may be a wise trial. There is also a demo for Tales of Arise, so you can sort of try this, then the demo, and then see the evolution and understand what I mean about the budget. And then I think that'll help you make a purchasing decision. So it's a little bit of an oddball pick this week because I'm not really saying it on the level of play this, here's why, let me sell you on this game, but more so as a testing grounds for what the series was and what it is now. Because I think this is their attempt to go mainstream with Tales of. And of course, that's always worrisome because mainstream can lead to the thinning out. But if it's going to be like Arise in the terms of its story, how dark it gets, and its mechanics, and they keep investing in it, it's only up from here. So I'm very encouraged by it. But I just want to shout out Tales of Vesperia. It's one of the few few Xbox available Tales of games. And since it's been such a large gap, I think this is a good point to just give it a try. See how you feel about Tales, and then watch some reviews. And
I gotta watch a video, man, for sure too.
Thank you. So that's my pick. Let's get into the 5 final questions to end this show off. First one comes from Sean Carr. Hey, my dookie wookies. I recently put my old Xbox One X in my girlfriend's house to act as a Blu-ray player for her. Totally selfless act. After a week or two, she said that she wanted to play games. What a surprise. This wasn't expected or planned at all. He knows what he was doing. Yeah, Sean, we're on to you.
Plant the seed. We know what you're doing.
There's one big problem, though. She cannot use the right stick to move the camera. For people like us that do it on a regular basis and have for years, this isn't a problem. But for someone whose last game was The Sims 2 on PS2, this is an impossibility. Do you have any suggestions for games we/she can play where camera controls aren't needed? Some info. She loves Overcooked and has played both of them now. Also, Castle Crashers and the Unravel games. Gameplay is king, and a good gameplay loop is more important than pretty graphics. They don't have to be co-op or party games, as I'd like to get her into more and more games. I love the show and listen every week after ILP. In a realm of thousands of podcasts, your stick out as premium content. Congratulations to all you have achieved, Sean. Thank you, Sean. Very kind of you. Wow.
Very kind. Yeah.
Little ILP love in there too.
Little ILP love the Lords,
Mhm.
salute. The Dukes and the Lords, we rock together.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is a good question. As far as like I always try to think of games that like I consider like casual gamers and people, because he's making a good point. Like people who are new to gaming, like I mean not new, but haven't played in a while, like dual analog games where that's intimidating.
Mhm.
That could throw someone off, So I tend to think of like the 2D stuff, and I tend to think of like, like kind of like the narrative based, like I talk about like what was it, Last Stop that time
Yeah.
goes on and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Those story driven games where the control is not going to be the key and detractor from your experience, right?
Right.
And those type of games kind of get people to say, you know what, I'll try that. That's it. Because the worst thing for a gamer that's new, that has been away, is to be intimidated with a whole bunch of buttons and what does this do? And let's be real, as hardcore gamers, we're so used to it. Like we get mad when things aren't mapped to every button, that kind of thing. So yeah, I would kind of go like the narrative kind of game route. I would kind of go the 2D kind of side scroller kind of games. One that comes to mind, but I want to recommend it, but then there's a part of me that's like still a little difficult. But I'm a huge inside guy. I'm a huge, and I've had a lot of people who, were very casual, watch me play, and they like, yo, I want to try that. Just, boy, in this real dystopian world and figuring out what the hell is going on kind of thing. So that's one I would say, Sean, get the missus to download that inside and, see what's and then y'all can play together. You can help her out with the puzzles and see where she gets stuck and stuff like that. So what you got? What do you think? Because, we're in a gaming relationship.
Right. Yeah. So when I got Laylee into games again, because she used to play a lot when she was a kid, but kind of like Sean, she fell out of it for a while, and then she starts dating me, and I'm like, well, you got no choice now. So I'm like, here's your Switch. And what I did was I put her on Telltale games first. I put her on Batman, and she really liked it, played it, beat it. But this was my method, was like, I'm going to teach her the controller first, right? She'd like come over, of course, over this span of time and played games with me. But this was her opportunity to, just learn the buttons, the layout, because we often get wrapped up as enthusiasts that like, it's just, it like the back of your hand, right? You know where everything is. We skim tutorials. It's different for folks who are new. So it was kind of like enlightening to watch. But yeah, that was where I put her first, so she could, X is here, Y is here, B is here, so on and so forth. After that, it was turn-based games. Turn-based games are great because a lot of people it's like a weird thing. I get why people say it, but it still bugs me. And they're like, turn-based is weird because while you're methodically going through the menus, the enemy's just standing there. Shouldn't they be attacking you? I'm like, no, that's not how turn-based works. It's not like they're standing there waiting. It's like the idea is like you're tactically plotting and moving through combat. Like anyway.
No, we got to educate him because I just got to cut you one second because you're on fire. Like the people who say that, I tell them, think chess. Think the ultimate strategy. Your anticipation, it's actually deeper. You have to anticipate the next move of your opponent and how that can affect you, and as well as the offense. But continue, I'm gonna let you go.
No, exactly that. I just was cutting myself off before I ranted. I just avoided the actual
No,
question.
I love it because I'm with you. I'm dying on that sword.
Yeah. So I put her on Persona 5. So it seems like some people are easier to pick up certain 3D games than others. It wasn't like she was whipping the camera around like a pro, but what really got her was, funny enough, Breath of the Wild, because that's a very slow-paced open world. So if you're looking for an introductory 3D game, I almost think that's really good because you can sort of do whatever you want. The systems are pretty thoroughly explained. There's depth if you want it. There's a lot of secrets. But more than anything, it's just like you can feel out the 3D side of things. And so her transition was very quick, right? She went from Telltale to Breath of the Wild. It was moving around with no problem. So I just want to put that out there. But if you don't want to go that route, or she doesn't want to go that route, as you mentioned, you have an Xbox.
Right.
I don't know why this game comes to mind,
Let's go.
but I keep thinking of Octopath Traveler because I'm like, it's just a
Ooh.
set camera and you're moving around with the left stick. There's really no camera rotation. The camera's following you. It's turn-based. It's beautiful, but
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Like, this probably isn't the thing that she wants to leap into if she's been into the
Right.
Sims 2. It's why I'm so bad at game recommendations for newcomers, because I play a not casual genre pretty
Yeah.
frequently. And I have to like really dig deep. I'm like, Mario, of course.
You're right.
So I think you probably take the cake here on suggestions, because especially on a 2D level, I'm really drawing a blank here. I remember when I saw this, I thought about it. I was like, And I continue to think. I would say turn-based. Look into turn-based games.
Yeah, turn-based. Definitely. Yeah, turn-based, narrative joints, 2D joints. Yeah, it's funny because like I said, we have to think because it's so muscle memory to us, right? It's so, whatever. But for a newcomer, it's intimidating. So
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, my thing I would still stand by inside and play that with her and kind of get the vibe, because it's so cool trying to figure things out together.
Absolutely. No matter what you play, you should just be there.
Yeah.
Assisting her, if you will. Maybe she won't need your assistance, right?
She might beat it.
Kyle knows our next question. Howdy, boys. I'm playing Fist right now, F-I-S-T. It's got a period between each of them. Right now, and I love the production put into this type of game. Voice acting with good graphics and a Metroidvania is awesome. So my question is this. What genre would you like to see get more budget? Does genre impact how much you can really go into? What would Danganronpa or Magic the Gathering look like with the $200 million budget? Sorry for all the questions. Keep up the good work. I apologize. No, we love Laurydans, man. We want them. We want more of them.
Yeah. This is a good one. It's an interesting one. I don't have an answer for the third one with Danganronpa. I got to defer that part to you. You know what I'm saying? With a budget, because you're the legend. You're the Duke of that. Genre that I like to see get more budget. I'm gonna go on. You mentioned earlier, Matty. I'm gonna go on fighting games. I want
you and I are on the same.
Okay, we hit see the Dukes. You know how we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's the deficiency. It's their Achilles heel right now. That I look at everything as a whole. Western RPGs on Smash, Bethesda, all much called Obsidian,
right?
In Exile. We good. You know what I'm saying? We got racing. You got planes, trains, automobile.
Yeah.
We got all that. And then you got your eclectic indies. So they're diverse. I don't want to make it seem like it's not, but fighting, that's something that is near and dear to me, man. Like, I love fighting games. I love good ones and the competitive aspect. And, to look at the opposition, obviously got to look at what Sony's doing, and I see them invest in Evo and, you remember when Street Fighter was exclusive?
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Dagan. We talked about the the importance of that, and stuff like that. So it's just like, we gotta get that back in the mindset of the Xbox game, because outside of Killer Instinct, what else really is there from I mean, yes, the multi-platform Mortal Kombat, we get it, but from a first party standpoint, it's kind of sad Xbox doesn't have anything of its own. So yeah, that to me is impactful, and I would like them to fight in that space. Don't give up on that space. There's something there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I 100% agree. I think the fighting genre would be ideal to see some budget pumped into. The reason I say that is also because I feel like everyone has moved on with how they handle post-launch content. You usually get some freebies if you're doing something significant on the level of like more story or new gameplay. It's a paid for expansion, and I think are in a pretty comfortable area with most monetization methods. But fighting games are still this like $8 a pop. Then they got the fighter pack, which you can round them all up in. You've got the season passes. We still have season passes, but I'm saying like you still got those Xbox 360 level season passes, no new stages, no new characters. And I know I'm speaking like a casual in the sense where I know for some, they don't like. I remember in Dragon Ball FighterZ, there's a reason that people don't use other stages outside of Cell games, and I think it's because of something to do with, I want to say, lag or frame rate, where they're like, we don't want We don't want
Wow.
Arc System to make a new stage for us. But me as a
Wow.
casual, if you will, I put hundreds of hours into this game, but I would say I'm still a casual. I'm of the mindset it's like, no, give me more stages, right? Like Smash is still a hardcore fighting game that people compete on at the same time as great for people like me who I've had hundreds of hours in that as well. It's just from hopping online. We get into a little wave weeks on weeks. We're just playing a little Smash.
Yeah.
And I just feel like even Smash, for as popular as it is, had the chance to really shake things up. And they do by providing new stages, but it's still that I'm waiting for that game to do like a free DLC drops, maybe a battle pass of some sort. It's like bring that modern mentality to the fighting game genre, pump some real money into it. Because what's happened is you've seen like outside of really NetherRealm and a few others, the story stuff has fallen off. And weirdly enough, in the case of like Killer Instinct and Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, it got added on afterwards. And it's like, this is either you either do it or you don't. And if you're not going to do it, it's not because you're making a technical fighter. I don't want to hear that anymore. That's so old, right? Like that's so old. Like if you're going to take away the story, I want free shit. I don't know how else to put it.
Yep. No, let's go.
Like
let's go.
It costs so much more money to make a story. I know it does.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm at. I want to see more money go into fighting. And does genre impact how much can really go into it? I don't know, because you look at one of the most popular genres nowadays, Cog, and it's battle royale, right? And that was pretty. It wasn't the first time we saw it, but it was pretty fresh, and it was considered new to many people. Where I feel like if you make something good that can draw crowds, I mean, fighting games, that was where it started, right? Like that was what got people around the arcade cabinet. Yeah, right, for real. And so I just feel like with that heritage, it's good, and online play, especially if we can get continued rollback and good net code in these fighters.
Preaching right now, you
don't need to always be on the couch anymore, and that's why fighting games should be bigger. So I'm just really elaborating further on everything Cog said at this point.
Yeah, no, you're on fire. I agree with you, especially the point you said about narrative aspect in fighters. I'm a huge Soul Calibur Tekken guy. I'm a Tekken guy, right? That Tekken's my soul. And like one thing that I like, you gotta say, like I was a huge Bandai Namco fanboy. Like they are like the gold standard for me when it came to fighting games, because I always felt that not only did they have a technically good fighting game, right? They also had like this expanded lore where you play the game with each of the characters and then you get this cool cinematic story and ending, and it made you connect with the character. It made you, you know what I mean? And I like even Tekken 7, which I love, it is probably one of the pinnacle of the series as far as where they went with it. But I was very disappointed. Outside of a few characters, they didn't have the story, for all of them. And then the other thing that pissed me off is then, like you said, here come the season pass, fighter this person. Then it's like Namco got the bag. Shout out to Harada, I love you, and I met Harada, awesome guy. But the thing is like, bro, you got Noctis from Final Fantasy. Nobody got no ending now. No cinemas, no nothing. Yeah. You bring in from The Walking Dead, Negan from The Walking Dead, and I'm like, I get it. You're chasing the bag, but it's like I'm from the era where PlayStation 1, when you had the sub-boss with these extra characters, and then when you lock them and then you play with them and then they have a story, then they have it. I miss that. It connects you.
Yeah, I remember I want them. Soul Calibur 2 had like that map where you could like go on an adventure mode. Soul Calibur's always done pretty well with its stories and its adventure and RPG modes. I don't remember much from, was it 6 with Geralt of Rivia?
I think so, yeah. One of them had Geralt. That's right. I forgot about that.
That was the one I played the least. Before that, those Soul Calibur 2, 3, 4, and 5 were like must plays. Like I was in them, man. And so I am wholeheartedly with you. I think fighting needs a little bit of injection with cash. With that said, what would Danganronpa or Magic Gathering look like with a $200 million plus budget? I wanted to add this on because while it was a joke question, I was like, there's some games that I don't want to have a big budget. I don't want to know what Danganronpa looks like with a big budget, because I believe limitation brings innovation. So when you are locked down and you're like, we're working on a visual novel, I don't think Danganronpa's story and creative mechanics would hit for me as hard if they had $200 million to spend, because they would have done other things with it. So I'm totally cool with games being tight, focusing on a couple of things and turning a profit and then doing another one. Like I remember when I played Danganronpa 1, June 2014, and then next year, June 2013, and then September 2014, Danganronpa 2's out, right? 3 years later, we get Danganronpa V3, one of the more expansive ones. And that definitely had more of a budget because it had like RPG mode, after school mode. It was like a dating mode even. Whatever. There's a story.
Your boyfriend dungeon.
Yeah, right. There's like 50 plus hours of story. It clearly had a bigger budget, but even with Danganronpa's technically bigger budget, it didn't exceed what I expected the franchise in a way where sometimes you're comfortable with what you know, right? And you want it to stay that way. You don't want it to betray the brand identity. It's very important.
Respect.
And so that's why sometimes I'm like, I like when games have a smaller budget, because you get those AA RPGs like Vampire. I don't think Vampire would have slapped as hard for me if that was a AAA RPG. I love that it was AA and they're like, we're going to do these districts, and these districts are going to have all of their own morale based off choices you make, and they can go into chaos and you can make London burn. And I'm like, that's a fucking cool concept, right?
I got you.
And I feel like if you give them AAA levels money, maybe the combat gets a little bit better, but do they make those cool creative choices, or do they spend it on marketing? It's like, I don't like sometimes when games escape their little corner.
I'll push back a little.
Okay.
I know where you're going.
Okay.
I know where you're going. And the point you're strong with me at is that I do feel the AA budget space is more innovative. I think you're on fire with that. I think you're right on that part.
I gotta know where I went wrong, though.
Where I disagree is like I look at In Exile, and I like, you know what I mean? Like
a little weak spot.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta go for your heart now. Come on, bro. Like you don't want them with a triple. Like you don't want them with a bag. You don't want to imagine what they could do. Like, come on, bro.
I guess okay. Then I should talk about on that level. I should talk about the DNA of the studio, right? Like that's a totally fair counterpunch. By the way, that's totally. I don't know if I have a real rebuttal for it, but rather a sidestep. Because with In Exile, it's like I know Brian Fargo's there. This man breeds RPGs. I know it infects the whole studio.
Yes.
So yeah, like him with that money, I'm like, he could make sort of the dream level AAA RPG where I'm like, there is spider webbing, choice and consequence here, but there isn't sacrifice on the level of like what it looks like. What's the combat? So I'm with you on that.
Okay,
you're right. I guess it's just studio by studio then is how I view it.
You're where I know where you're going. You're going the purity of the studio, like the culture. You don't want the culture to change, and I get that.
That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah,
probably.
I know where you're going. I know where you're going. All I'm saying is,
money, but,
I want Brian Fargo to have a little extra cheese on his waffle.
I think I do too. So I can't really argue on that one. I'm right there with you.
No doubt.
Top G82 is our next write-in. Hey, Cog and Matty, do you guys use Microsoft Reward System? I'm from the UK and earn around 12K points a month, which pays for Game Pass itself. I think it's great that Microsoft gives you something back for a little effort. Keep up the great work, guys. Love your show. Top G82. Thank you, Top. So you raised your hand right away. You're in on this?
Bro, I love that we added. Shout out to Top G82. This doesn't get enough publicity that Microsoft is doing. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, first of all, as a person who plays Destiny, who lives in Game Pass, literally the moment I boot Destiny, it'd be like, bloop, you got an award. You got a reward. And what's cool, what they're doing is, it's smart, bro. Like, they are encouraging Game Pass engagement. If a game is in Game Pass, the minute you launch it on Xbox, you'll see the reward thing pop up. And then, bro, you'll be surprised. I got like about $40, $50 in like three or 4 weeks because of how like just daily playing Destiny or daily playing like any game that we reviewed was in Game Pass. 12 minutes. Both we have spoilercast right now on Defining Duke Ultimate up right now. So it's like, that stuff adds up. And then the next thing you know, when there's a paid game that I'm like, you know what, I'm not too sure, but hey, I got these Microsoft reward points. Hold on 1 second, cops go by. They're killing me right now. But anyway, shout out to them. They're excited about the Roy Point
Yes.
too. But yeah, like it adds up because then there's like these paid games that come up, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I'm gonna spend that, but yo, I got this, these
Mhm.
20,000 points. Let me convert that into an Xbox reward. You can literally do it on the fly in your dashboard,
Yeah.
right? And transform it. And now that's like 40 bucks
Mhm.
knocked off right out right there. I think it's genius. I think they don't do a good job of promoting this thing. And if more people really knew about it, you'll be helping to pay for your own game. So shout out to Top G82. I use this thing all the time, and it's super beneficial. Well, what about
I
you?
always encourage people who have not heard of the Microsoft reward system to just fire it up, because if you've been playing through Game Pass, that'll stack up. I don't have many points in it. I do play on Xbox pretty frequently, but I find mine slowly building up.
Right.
But for those who don't know, it's literally a service that for every 1,000 points, it's pretty much $1. And there are people who've just come in and been like, "Oh, I have 90,000 points sitting here. You could get a year's worth of Game Pass, or you could get a game through a gift card, or you could get even like food or gas gift cards. Like you could literally pay for your gas by playing Xbox if you wanted to." And I think that's hilarious in its own right. But it's one of the more underrated systems within the Xbox ecosystem. And I think if they just improve their achievements on top of what they have here with rewards, oh, they won, man. Like that's it. They
Yeah.
won. But this alone is great. And I do hope that we continue to see it be emphasized and
Yes.
celebrated, because I don't want them to go, oh, well, no one's really using this. Or only the hardcore is using it. I want it to
Right.
be something that more people are hearing about, because there is money to be saved here. Even, you don't got to get to the 50,000 mark. Like you could cash in for $10. Just be like, all right,
Yeah.
I'll take the tax off the top and a little bit
Yep.
more, and just spend 50 on this game. Sure. And just like Cog said, yeah, you can convert quickly. So I really like the system overall, and they've done a great job with it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Last question of the show goes to your boy Nikki V. Dear Mr. I'm so hench I should mocap Abby in The Last of Us 3, and Mr. I hate Halo, Forza, and everything besides titty gobbling. So, GamesIndustry.biz are reporting a slow few weeks of sales for Xbox in the UK. I think we could put that down to a lack of supply rather than demand, as Series X has been out of stock everywhere. That leads me to a question. Is there anything Microsoft can do to boost their supply in the short to medium term? I know there's a chip shortage, but surely they can splash their trillions of dollars around somewhere. They've got to cash out. They've got cash to outbid Sony, so they've really missed a golden opportunity here. Rather than capitalize on the PS5 shortages, they're actually getting outproduced by Sony. I think they underestimated initial demand for the Series X and are also wasting components on the Series S, which doesn't seem nearly as popular. Cheers,
Mm.
boys. Nick.
Spicy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this in the last question?
Mhm.
Keep going though. Sorry,
Oh,
I
oh.
realize now. I scrolled down, getting ready to close
Oh,
my app,
one more.
and I
Yeah,
saw there's a fifth question. We were on 4.
second to last. We
Second
good.
to
We
last.
good.
Apologies, Nick.
Yeah. Shout out to Nick. Look. Again, salute. This is interesting because I do feel that he's right in reference to the chip shortage correlation and
Mhm.
supply correlation as to who has what available, as to what may be dictating, NPD in US and whatever in UK, and also in UK was how they're doing console sales. I don't know how they get around it. I don't know if it's a situation where it was like, oh, they miscalculated how many people were going to want it. I just honestly think you got the chip shortage, which we knew about. Remember, there's all these manufacturers, from my understanding, wanting these same chips in different devices outside of the console space.
Yes.
So you got that, all these different people competing for the same thing. Then you throw a pandemic where you can't, factories were kind of compromised,
Mhm.
the assembling line and all that. So it's just, to be honest, it's just a whirlwind of problems all at
Yeah.
the same time. And, people say, well, how is Sony doing it? I think, Sony did make some strategic moves on certain things to help assist, but they've been going through it too. They still listen. I've never seen, and I've been around. Cog is a very distinguished older gentleman, so I've been around, bro. I've never seen. What are we now? We're about a year from release. Like how long these consoles been out now?
Yeah, we're about a year now.
We're
We're
almost
heading
to
to a
a-
year come
We're
November.
heading to a year, and again, it's just like, yo, I've never seen it where the scalpers are still running wild. Have you ever seen that?
No, I honestly, the fact that they're still nabbing up supply is kind of hilarious, because I understood earlier, right? If someone wanted to buy like 2, consoles, flip one of them. I'm not crazy about it, but I get it, right? Like that's a quick, easy buck to make. But as far as I'm aware, they're not being scalped for that same like 1,000 plus price that they were around launch. Like they've come down a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's run rampant. Once again, a lot of people like tunnel vision it and look at just consoles, but it's happening across all tech. Really, anything new, scalpers round it up, resell it at a higher price, and I think we're getting to a point where retailers far and wide are going to have to really consider measures to limit how people get in. I know with the Steam Deck, they tried a different way of doing it by like reserving per account. So that was, I thought, a pretty smart way to do it. But still, even then, I know there were people who got in and like
they got around. Yeah.
So I think the other problem is with the slow few weeks of Xbox sales is you mentioned the UK, Nick, and Xbox continues to struggle to be a global brand. Like they are pretty heavy in UK in development space. But when it comes to their sales figures beyond the US, they're not bad per se, but they need to do some work to appeal on a global level. And it's funny because I think they're doing all the right things. It's just about time and also exclusivities. Or exclusive. Sorry, I think they just need to pump those out more and more, and it'll come. But yeah, it's a perfect storm, if you will, of problems. Cog mentioned brand appeal, and I think the best point Cog made was really that they can splash all the money they want, but there's people that need the parts that are in the Xbox and the PlayStation beyond console gaming, and it's like they could splash, but so could other teams. So
exactly.
That's also worth considering.
I got to come from a boy Nicky on one thing though. He being very disrespectful to what we call little man, the Series X.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? About he wasted their components on it.
That little man saved you during your trip.
Little man saved me. I think ultimately that is their long-term play. I know the X is still outselling probably the S if we look at it from a statistical standpoint right now, but the S, they want that entry point, that $300 entry point, and it sets itself up to be the perfect complementary system to someone who's new to the Xbox ecosystem and get them in there. And I'm telling you, when you get this thing, man, it is so small. It's adorable. It's the cutest little thing. You know what I'm saying? Bro, you got to get that. You got to get little man.
I had to pack my Series X, and that required a whole other bag. When you were telling me, like, yo, I popped it in my backpack, I went,
so easy.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds so easy. I love it. But I don't know how much use it would get. I'm a physical collector too, so it would sort of just sit there.
And also of the digital.
Not until I get my own place, probably late next year. I'm sort of in a spot where I don't have a home. Like I'm always in my bedroom, right? So I don't have the need for a double console setup. Like I got one in the living room, one in the bedroom.
Yeah,
we're gonna get there, right? Like that's gonna be a play. That's a long-term play though. So time will come.
No, I get you. I just feel like it really punches above its weight. It's a technical showpiece for the amount of tech in there with ray tracing and 1440p and all this stuff.
Right.
Like it is truly a marvel. So shout out to the engineering team on that. That's going to be the long-term play. That Game Pass, $300, you're in the ecosystem. I think long-term it will really do well.
I just think, especially with the program they have where you can pay month after month for it. You don't even got to put all access. I just think that they have everything in place. They just need to get the games going.
It's the games. That's it. Yep, absolutely.
And I don't know if when they get the games going, that means suddenly everyone's going to start flying through the door. But our most common write-in, and I don't use it often because me and Carrick did it like 8 weeks in a row, is like, I got an Xbox for the first time. I skipped the generation. I got Xbox for the first time. What do I play? What did I miss? Yada, yada, yada. And it's like, we continue. That's why we have Game Pass Pick of the Week, because it's like, we get this suggestion or this question so often. It's like, let's just give them weekly suggestions. Right?
Yeah.
I foresaw that too. I was like, I feel like this, that's like when we said episode 1, I was like, put this in play. I feel pretty good about it.
Working, forward thinking. And last point too, what you said too, which is, again, at the meet and greet, Landstand Media, shout out to everybody that came out. I had so many people come up to me that said, look, new to you guys or whatever, or hey, I've been listening and you guys got me excited, right? And I'm just now getting it, like, what should I do? And I'm thinking about, and I asked them, I said, okay, well, what is it about the ecosystem that now has attracted you? And it's always like Game Pass, but they also say, the Bethesda acquisition, like these exclusives, and like now it's like, if that's the only place I could play, I got to get, I'm not going to miss out, and I respect it. So it's cool to hear the mindset of people now getting more familiar that may have went away the entire generation of last generation from Xbox to see them now get excited about some potential. And yeah, we'll see. That's why I think the S is going to be.
You have to imagine that Xbox is going to be doing something with an acquisition this year, right? I can't imagine. Technically, I try to make a joke online. Bunch of fucking party poopers came into my mentions, man. They're like, technically, the Bethesda and ZeniMax acquisition was this year. I'm like, motherfucker, just let me have my laugh. So I was like, hey, isn't it funny that PlayStation's acquiring more studios than Xbox? Like, do you have that on your bingo card? I got these bunch of fucking glasses pushers who are like, actually,
the comment boys is on you.
Oh my god, bro! I had people from other outlets on me too. I'm like, dude, holy fuck,
damn.
Like, settle down. But I feel like with PlayStation making their moves, I'm getting a little antsy. I'm starting to feel the PlayStation bug. I'm gonna call it. Like I'm like, make a move, Xbox. Let's go. Let's get someone announced.
Go.
I'm feeling like it's got to be coming. I doubt they go through this whole year. Technically, this whole year, right? Because I guess Bethesda was rolled in officially. They were announced last year with an intent to acquire. But
correct.
I feel like they have another announcement of intent to acquire, if you will, this year coming. They got it.
There are rumblings.
There have been rumblings since like May. That's what's crazy about it. Like every day, it's weird. You ever have that like consistent subconscious thought? Because for me, every day I wake up, I do check Twitter at some point, and I'm like, I wonder if they made an acquisition. Like, it's like that in KOTOR. I'm like, is it finally happening? Like, it's both of those, man. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my life once those happen, but.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm the same way. You're always checking. I'm always scouring. Exactly.
Michael Betts is our final write-in for real this time. Apologies again, Nikki V and our audience. Dear Dukes, if you guys could pick one OG game to be remade on a Bluepoint level of quality, what would you guys pick? Mine would be the original Fable. Loving the podcast and the great chemistry you both have together. Thank you. Ooh. All right. Bluepoint quality remake incoming. Who you got?
But I got to ask the question, though. There's a caveat. Is it has to be like OG Duke level Xbox game or just Xbox game?
He did say the original Fable, so I'm thinking it might be OG Xbox.
OG?
Yeah, when he says OG Xbox, yeah. Well, 360 is a lot easier to pick from.
Yeah, 360 is so easy. Damn, let me pass it off to you first. I got to think about like some things.
You know, I don't know why this game's been in my mind lately. I think I got to download it on Game Pass over the holidays. Blink's the Time Sweeper. I really like Blinks. Growing up, I thought this game was amazing, and it's just so stupid, right? It's just like sucking up trash and stuff around the level, 3D platformer. But it had so much personality to it, and it was during a time for me. I hold the game near and dear to my heart because it was time for me of like discovery in games. Like it's when I would start cracking open magazines, playing demo discs. And seeing what was beyond like the things that my parents bought for me, or that I really more so I found in flyers. Because how I discovered games was holidays would come around, so you get the Toys R Us toy book guide. I got to get that Toys R Us shirt, by the way. That guy had a sick shirt. That.
Yeah.
And then the Best Buy booklet would come through, and I'd just go to the game section. And I'd circle, what I wanted. And yeah, man, I'm thinking Blinks though. Blinks was a special game to me, and I think seeing that remade, it would never, ever, ever happen. A remaster, sure, but it would never, ever get remade. I don't know what kind of company would be out of their mind enough to remake Blinks the Time Sweeper, but if I could pick one, that does come to mind pretty immediately, right? I know like Fable is an appealing one, but like, I don't know, Blinks has been living in my head for a while lately, and I think maybe just a little nostalgia there, but yeah, that game, I'm sure if I thought a little bit more, I'll come up with another answer to toss out there, but that's what's... Actually, you know what? You ever play Nightcaster?
I have not. Tell me about that.
I don't know if is that exclusive? Let me check real quick. But that was like a game where you just play as a mage. And I remember being obsessed with it because of the box art. It's got a 61%.
The box art was everything back in the day, bro.
It really was. Yeah, this was a 2001 game. They made a sequel to it as well. Wow, that's news to me. That's news to me. Anyway,
I got him.
Yeah, Nightcaster. That was an Xbox exclusive as well. I remember really liking that. Sorry, you got one though?
Yeah. All right. So I was looking while you're talking. I was like, I had to go in my bag, refresh. It's been so long, right? OG. So the first joint that came to me initially, right? I was like, okay, this is it. Lord Cognito. the gaming ninja. You know what I'm saying? Remember Ninja
I knew it,
Gaiden?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
okay. And that's the easy pick. That's the safe pick for Cog, because Cog loves his ninja games. And, shout out, I can't pronounce the guy, but bro.
I'm just saying, imagine though, if
Let's
if
go.
like you know how you've always been doing that, like just one hashtag just one. If Xbox gives you an exclusive ninja game as your just one, I want that to happen so bad, because that'd be the most funny reaction ever.
Tears of joy. You're gonna see a grown man cry on stream. You're gonna be like, it's a ninja game and it's a just it'll be a moment. It'll be a moment for sure.
You were about to say something else though.
No. So that was that, right? And that's the safe Cog pick. Then I thought about, so when I was looking while you were talking, I was like, OG Xbox game. There's this one game that Xbox fans have been tormented by. There's this one game. Now, technically, it is owned by another, but it debuted and was initially synonymous as an Xbox exclusive for years. And I'm talking about that that sound effect in the goggles,
right?
That Sam Fisher, bro. We need a Splinter Cell. Come on, like, what is going on? Like, even if Microsoft got to drop the bag for exclusives, something Splinter Cell. It pains me to see the trolling by Ubisoft.
They are like, really doing some
disrespect. Throwing them in mobile games, throwing them all over the place, and I'm like, this was an icon. Like, at one point, this was the equivalent, the head-to-head with Metal Gear. This was, you know what I mean?
Very good point. I didn't even think of it that way.
You know what I mean? Spies versus Mercs. Also, they added that mold with the thing, and it's just like, I wish, if Ubisoft ain't gonna do nothing with it, like something, man. We did hear rumblings in the past, so I get
heard the rumbles.
We've heard so much rumbling. You know what I mean? So again, it's my pipe dream one. Obviously, Ubisoft does control it. So my safe pick is Ninja Gaiden, to see if they could do something with that. But Splinter Cell, man, that thing, I'm a stealth guy. That was the game, man. So we'll see. That's the one I would love for it to be an OG Xbox game to be remade.
Of course, I need to throw out KOTOR. That was an OG Xbox game. Yeah, that's
no defining Duke would be right without your KOTOR movie.
I've been trying to subvert the KOTOR expectations. Like, it's pretty well established. This is my baby. I love that game. Like, even with my presentation at the Last Stand Media event, like, I was like, I know what y'all are thinking. You think you got me nailed on what I'm going to talk about today, but it's not it. And we got into Toy Story, but
that's right.
Yeah, I 100% would love to see a KOTOR remake as well, which is happening. So that's only a matter of time. It's not really an interesting answer. So we're going to go with Blinks from my end.
Okay. No doubt. And I'll keep it safe with Ninja Gaiden because Ubisoft's in the damn way.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, that's all we've got for episode 36 of Defining Duke. Cog. It was fantastic having you here, chatting with you again after we had to sadly depart.
I know. We hung out, bro. We had a good time, bro.
It
was dope. And one thing I like is that you're literally the same person I podcast with. Before me, I'm like, he's like, there's nothing, like, literally what you see with the Beast, the young Beast, is what you get. Cool, fun, hilarious, good energy. We was up on stage together. We did so much together for the weekend, and it was dope, man. It's good to put the face, in reality and just hang out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was dope,
I meant to shout this out at the beginning of the show, but better late than never. I wanted to shout out you because you wouldn't have known you've really only been doing this here at Last Stand for about 2 months now. You really came in there and made it your own, and the people love you for it, and that deserves a bow and a thank you, because you've really embraced this whole opportunity that's come your way, and I'm thankful to have a co-host like that who's really you're all about it, man. And so just to see how warm people were to you, it's not surprising, right? Like, we literally had someone who sat down and was like, who brought Cog on? Because I need to thank them. And you pointed at me and he's like, thank you. He shakes my hand. Like, that emphatic love is next level. And as my keys drop, it's the only thing that only person I know who would receive it would be you. So just thank you for embracing our show here as much as you do.
No, I appreciate you. Appreciate it, man. The kind words. I mean, bro, like, again, like you said, it's only been a short time, and I want to first thank the entire community who showed love. It was like, hey, some guys are like, yo, I never heard of you before, but I listened to you now, and this, that, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you as well, because again, we always had that talk, and I was like, oh, was I the choice? He was like, bro, you were the choice, and that meant a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? And again, you had the foresight. We're doing something special. We got, it's dope, man. It's dope. Two people who love doing what we're doing, love talking games, and to see the community embrace us both and say, hey, I love this Define Duke. I'm loving this podcast right now. It's dope to see, man. So salute to both of us. We out here. We working.
We're doing a good job. And I always, we were talking about, I don't think you were there because this was at Dustin's house. I was saying, I'm thinking by next year, like around Starfield launches, I expect us to be in a much different spot in terms of how many people are listening to us, because I think our show, once Xbox starts doing stuff, it's going to spread like wildfire, because I just think we have a good thing going on here.
I agree.
We have a deep appreciation and friendship, where or appreciation for one another and a friendship that I think elevates the show. And so, yeah, I just think we're heading on the right direction, and I'm really excited for our show's future, and more events and more hanging out, more Mexican food
with alcohol.
I told my buddies the story about you having that sandwich and like fucking loving it. Remember when I was in the car saying, like, literally, it's like Matt said it like 3 times now. I was like, yo, that was like my favorite moment of the weekend. This man take a bite of his sandwich, he's like, like that same Cog grunt.
It was the official from the show.
Yeah, and you're like, this is phenomenal. Like you loved your sandwich. I was like, that was to me the hilarious thing. I was like,
you was laughing about because that was literally
authentic. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. That was literally like the first official where all of us got together at the restaurant spot. So Colin, everyone's there, you're there, and then I forgot what I ordered. And it was one of the moments when you like, okay, it looked good on the menu, but then when you bite into it, I was like, I was like, oh, this is it. And then you start laughing because I'm literally doing what I do on the show.
That's why I was like, this man's real. Like he's everything you see is what you get. And yeah, because at this place they had this sandwich. It was called the Eternal Damnation.
Remember that?
Yeah. And I was like, I literally said to everyone at the table, I was like, I'm ordering this by name alone. Like I like what I saw at the subtitle, but there was no photos. I was like, I'm getting it because I literally get to say to the waitress, I'd like the Eternal Damnation. That shit was good. It had like pulled pork, ham, chipotle sauce, and a pickle in there. Nice. I was like, fuck yeah. This is what I'm all about.
Let's go.
Excellent weekend. Time. And I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it week after week until we do the next one.
Brother. You already know.
To those of you who tuned in, thank you so much for your kindness, your support, and your ears. This week, we need a hashtag. And so...
What you thinking?
I'm thinking, I think we got to reference the meetup, right? For those who were there, but for those who have listened afterwards, I liked when someone said meteoric rise, like Meteor DD, kind of sticking out to me.
Okay.
Because this is a together thing. It's not just the folks we met; it's everyone listening to us as well.
I like that.
How do you dig with that?
Yeah, I can dig it. You know what I'm saying? Like the meteoric rise, Meteor DD. We could do that. Like something special is happening.
Yeah.
And everyone could feel it. Everyone, we're all around each other, and we're like, we're all genuinely good people who love video games, and we got a passion. Everyone was just super supportive and nice to each other, and again, I think it reflects the community that we built up, because I've never seen anything like that. Yeah. I'll be honest. I've never. So let's go with it, man.
All right, Meteor DD. Yeah. If you got this deep, tag us on Twitter at G27status, at Lord Cognito. If you're lazy and you don't want to do that, comment section is just fine. We want to know if you got this deep. We'd like to gauge the interest of our audience and interact with you. Thank you for listening. And with that, Cog, any final words, or shall we wrap this up?
Let's do it, man. Until next time, keep your dukes up. Love everybody. Put their dukes up.
Yeah, we made that a thing in the photo.
Yeah. I think, was it you came up with
it? No, that was you.
Okay, I think I got it from Ben or something. Somebody was like, you should guys put the duke. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
That was you.
I thought it was Ben, because Ben was next to us in the park. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
I don't know, but I only remember the joke I made because, like, when we put the dukes up and you were wearing a UFC shirt, I'm like, everyone's gonna think you're like my trainer out here.
Yeah. Working with him, getting ready for his first fight.
Bulking season.
Bulk season, baby. Gains, bro.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening to episode 36. We hope you take good care of yourselves, and we'll catch you next week for episode 37. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.